Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
You might be a redneck if you've never protested about seeing the Ten Commandments posted in public places. You might be a redneck if you still say Christmas instead of Winter Festival. You might be a redneck if you bow your head when someone prays. And you might be a redneck if you stand and place your hand over your heart when they play the national anthem. And you know what? I'm darn proud to be a redneck. Good morning, everybody. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Wednesday, December 18. My goodness, Merry Christmas. Thank you, Kate Smith, and God bless America. Thank you very, very much. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our excellent advertisers like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. There are 2 women in my life that I do not ever want to do without. And my lovely wife, Deanne, that is such a help here, and the absolute greatest board operator, engineer, and quarterback of this team, Gina Jameson. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir, and I'm a redneck, too.
Ah, that a girl. I wouldn't have picked you for anything less.
I love the Pledge of Allegiance. I love the national anthem. And, of course, I always put my hand over my heart. And here's one thing. You know you're a redneck when you use a club card to scrape ice off your window.
You know what? This is going to sound funny to you, but without a chipper, one of those deals to chip the ice and then kind of use that little... you know what works fairly well?
Huh?
My crutch handles. The tops.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, and people that are in need have to, they have to innovate.
Yes, they do.
And create. And I did. And, of course, with one crutch, I have a tendency to sit down in the snow sometimes. But I do get the windows cleaned.
Well, and same with the club card. Because I don't have an ice scraper, so I always use my club card.
There you go.
Great.
Great. And my truck is so doggone big, it's a ton truck, and to get my old fat belly up high enough to get that ice off the windshield, man, you got to be like Wilt Chamberlain, for heaven's sake. You got to be
like 7'5".
No kidding.
I know. Those are big trucks.
When they go to working on those things, they take a stool, about 17-rung stool, and stand next to it and then climb up there. So
exactly, and they don't even have to use a lift jack to get underneath of them.
There you go. Hey, do we have a pledger?
We have Miss Jolene on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very well done. God bless. Thank you, Gina. And good morning, Jolene. Go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow. I mean, you did that very assertively. Thank you. That was a very nice job. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day and Merry Christmas.
And the same right back at you. Merry Christmas, my dear lady. Thank you so much. That was nice.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, it's time for Michael Rogers to give us a weather update. Well, go ahead, Michael. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas, everyone. 24 minutes all right now. You got weather action that's going to be taking place starting tonight It'll carry over through about the next 72 hours. In fact, you won't come out of it until possibly Sunday. 41 for the high today, and then the temperatures start to get right around freezing from tomorrow all the way into Saturday. What is that precipitation? It's going to be in the form of snow. Now, when you get this at this time of year, okay, you understand, yeah, it's snow. One of the things that I like to stress when I get serious about weather is the safety aspect of it, because, yeah, it's snow in the forecast, but it's right around Christmas time. And you've got things to do, and even though you know it's snowing, you've got things to do. So when you're out there and the weather guy says, please take it easy, be careful, he's not kidding. And this is a situation where things are going to get busy. You got a Christmas party, you got Christmas gifts, you're trying to pick up that iPhone 5, picking up the kids from school, getting ready for the family. You got all this stuff going on that's snowing on the ground. And some knucklehead's going to be coming opposite way, crossing the center line on the slick road, and there you have it. Please, whatever you do, whether it's a half inch on the ground or 6 feet on the ground, be careful as you work your way into the holiday. That's it for the weather. Enjoy it. It's the only weather you got.
Very well said, my dear friend Michael Rogers. Weather.com. Thank you so much. Wow, we have got so much to talk about this morning, and I need to start off real quick and tell you about the Mini-Cassia Area Merchants Association. My goodness sake, shop locally, and really, everybody helps each other. That's right, great stores in the Mini-Cassia area, all for your Christmas shopping. Support your friends and neighbors who own the local businesses. Shop them first before you take your money out of town. You better believe it. And don't forget to get your shopping passports stamped at local stores, and check your local paper for coupons and specials. Yes, sirree, Bobby, the Mini-Cassia Area Merchants Association, wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. You know, also, real quick, I want to remind everybody that I had a call the other day, as a matter of fact, and a guy said to me, you know, I had a little crinkle in the fender of his pickup. I didn't. He did. And he said, what was the name of that place? Evidently, he's relatively new here. And I said, Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop on Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls, 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard. The number to call for an appointment, 736-2490. Call these guys. They are good. I guarantee it. They've done some work for me, and I guarantee they are so efficient, and the service is great. They strive to make your vehicle repairs undetectable at Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop, 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls, 736-2490. By the way, Gina, I was going to tell you that we have some brand new listeners this morning.
Oh, we do?
Oh, yes, we do. And they're down in Utah.
Okay.
And they have a huge building, and they go underneath the title of the National Security Administration.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're listening. And I just think we ought to save them a lot of time on trying to, you know, queue up the different tapes and try to find out what we're talking about. So sure. I thought what I would do, if it's, I think it would be permissible, to save them a lot of tape and to save them scrutinizing the tapes and trying to figure out how I feel. I want to say this. Good morning, NSA. As you may or may not know from listening to me on my private calls, on my office phone, or my cell phone, or here on this program, I do not like this president. I do not like anything about his administration. I do not like his ideology. I think he is one of the worst presidents ever in the history of the United States. I would love to see him impeached as part of a New Year's gift to me. And, of course, one more thing, please. If you're going to be listening, at least say good morning to me, because I've been very polite to you.
Amen. And also one thing, if they're going to be listening and they want all of this on playback, just log on to zebbell.com and you can listen to all of the archived shows.
And I'll even send them one. I would certainly hate to think that we'd have to put some of our tax dollars to work. I'm paying for it, so I might as well send them a little tape so that they know exactly how I feel about this administration and this government, if you call it that.
And I will, honestly, I'll dub those off on CD for you so you can mail them down to them.
There you go. Oh, by the way, we've got a birthday boy in the audience.
Oh?
I forgot almost. Adam Fowler. Adam Fowler is, I believe, 10 years of age today, and he's celebrating a birthday. So on the downbeat, you and I will sing a quick ditty of happy birthday.
Oh, you don't want to do the birthday song, this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Adam.
Happy birthday, Adam. 10 years old.
Yep.
Wow.
Take Grandpa by the hand.
And take him shopping.
And grab Grandma by the other hand. Go into any store you want. And then let go of their hands and point and say, "Go get them, Granny and Grappy."
I want.
Happy birthday to Adam Fowler. Nice young man. There you go. Thank you, Gina. You're always ready with everything over there. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley for all your electric needs, your heat lamps, your extension cords, your furnace filters. Yeah, it's going to stay cold for quite a while. You better make sure your furnace is running right up to snuff and get a brand new furnace filter. Buy them by the box. They've got great quality furnace filters. And by the way, this is a great time to mention that tomorrow night, we've had some calls. People are saying, now that's tomorrow night, right? Yes, it is tomorrow night at 5:30. We're going to gather at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 5:30 for my first annual Zeb at the Ranch Cowboy Singing Christmas Chorale. That's a lot to say. And our thanks go to Ramsey Heating and Electric, Let's Ride with Nick and the crew, Travel Lube Supply with Jim and his dad Frank. Thank you so much. And, of course, Smith's Food King. Oh, we're going to have hot chocolate and cookies. We're going to sing. Kenny Mort's going to provide the sound system. Bring a flashlight. Bring a flashlight and your glasses, because some of the print on the Christmas songs is a little small. And we're going to have a good time tomorrow night. Don't forget that. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to see how sharp Gina is on a little quiz this morning. You ready to go?
Hit me with it.
All right, here we go. Okay. I'm going to ask you if it's true or if it's false.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
I am ready.
All right. Because you have a little 6-year-old boy, and this is very appropriate for you and Kennedy, okay?
Okay. All right.
Here it is. Sugar, extra sugar at Christmas time, whether it's in the form of cookies or candy or whatever, will make your kids go hyper. True or false?
True.
No.
Really?
Absolutely not. It's false.
Really?
Yep. There's been a current doctor study by the AMA, and that answer is false. So you are -1. And by the way, if you lose this quiz, you have to buy me a steak dinner.
Okay.
I just thought I'd tell you the rules.
Oh, okay. Nice to know in advance.
Now, here's the one that I know you're going to get, okay?
Okay.
If a child or a dog eats the leaves off of a poinsettia plant, will it poison the dog or the kid?
That I don't know, but I'm going to say false.
You're right.
Woo!
You are now 1 for 2. Okay. And here is 1 and 1. If you miss this, it's going to be medium rare steak for me.
Okay.
If you make this, it's going to be, I suppose I better buy you one too. Okay. If you get this, I'll buy you a steak. Now, this is really a good one. Now, the drum roll and the question. Eating at night will make you gain weight.
Eating at night will make me gain weight. No, false.
How do you like it?
I'm always more hungry in the morning when I eat late at night.
How do you like your steak?
Medium rare.
Good girl.
With maybe a little bit of Heinz 57, and we've got to have some fresh horseradish.
There you go. Now, The reason a lot of people miss that question, they say, oh, well, if I eat a big meal at night, it's going to put on so many pounds. No, that is not true. Doctors have decided that, no, you're going to eat anyway during the day. It doesn't make any difference about your metabolism or the caloric content or whatever, any time of the day. Eating at night is not going to create more of a quote-unquote weight or fat gain.
And isn't it? And this is just my philosophy, and I could be wrong on this, but your body does a lot of repair at night, so your body is using more energy at night to repair itself from the day's activities. So if you eat at night, you're helping your body repair itself in the morning.
There ain't no way this body gets repaired at night.
For you, it's the mind. It's repairing of the mind.
I guess. Hey, you won. I owe you a steak dinner.
Woo-hoo!
Doggone. Now Jim and you and me and Deanne will have to go out and celebrate.
You got it.
All right. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see what else have I got here on my list of goodies here this morning. Oh, I've got to tell you real quick about our friends over at Valley Wide Home and Ranch. They've got everything over there. They've got the boots, gloves, coats, toys, gift cards, everything. And don't forget, they've got a great pet line of food for your dogs and kitty cats, food for all the the livestock. They've got it all for you. And you know what? They've got an excellent tack department over there. The ropes, the haulers, the bridles, the bits, the everything. It's all there. Really, really great for Christmas gift giving. Stop over at your Home and Ranch store, Valleywide Home and Ranch, with Steve and Mandy, the whole crew. Nicest people in the world at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. See them today. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There has been, in the last couple of days, I don't know if you followed this or not, and if Gina's still listening, I'll let her weigh in on this too, because it's kind of interesting. There has been a firestorm created because of a newspaper article that was written by a black journalist. And she was complaining that America and the world views Santa Claus as white, and she's really miffed about it.
Can I weigh in on this one?
Yeah, just let me finish the major points, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, Megyn Kelly on Fox News about 5-6 days ago, she made a statement, which is a correct statement, a very correct statement, that all the depictions of Santa Claus, ever since way back 200 plus years ago, have shown Santa Claus to be white. And for the blacks and even some of the brown-skinned Hispanics to be outraged is absolutely mind-boggling as to how they could be that stupid and that racist, quite frankly. They're playing the race card. And for hundreds of years, Santa Claus has been depicted as white. And here's my simple solution, Gina, and then I'll take your comment.
Okay.
If you want a black Santa Claus or a brown Santa Claus, buy some paint and do what you want.
Amen. and that's what I will say. But if you truly understand the legend and lore behind Santa Claus, he is an Anglo legend. He truly is. I mean, he comes out of the Dutch story.
Well, the actual St. Nicholas, let's go back even further, back into eons and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, was a fairly light brown-skinned man, but the evolvement of Santa Claus, with the jelly belly and the great big white beard and everything, has always been, like you said, as a white Caucasian.
Yes.
And I'm sick and tired of people playing the race card. If they want a black Santa Claus, go get some paint. You want a brown Santa Claus, go get some paint. I don't care. You do whatever you want with this mythical character called Santa Claus. That's fine. But don't denigrate people that say things like, well, he's always been depicted as white, because that's the facts.
If they would just, honestly, wow, people are crazy, because really, if you want to know the lore, you can just get on Google, type in Santa Claus or St. Nicholas, and you can find out the history of Santa Claus itself. You cannot rewrite history just because you don't like his skin color.
Why do we have to waste time on, you've heard of the game Trivial Pursuit.
Oh, yeah.
This is really Trivial Pursuit.
It really is, and to be pulling out the race card over Santa Claus, really, you have nothing better to report on?
Amen to that, because, I find it such a time waste, and I find it, and who's really playing the race card here?
They are.
Okay, they are. And they're creating a firestorm over a problem that doesn't have to be. I can show you picture upon picture of when I was a little boy. I saved a lot of stuff when I moved away from home of Santa Claus and some of those little cute Christmas books they had, with old Santa Claus with the big cherubic red nose and everything. And listen, the guy's Caucasian. In all the artist work and all the other print and books, whatever, if the minorities don't like it, paint your own Santa.
Exactly. Or, honestly, just go on to biography.com and look at Santa Claus himself.
I'm so fed up with people playing the race card. Well, we just we feel like we're left out because your Santa Claus is white and we don't have one. Oh, for Pete's sakes, he gives toys and gifts to everybody according to the mythology, so sit back, shut up, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, last time I checked, Santa Claus wasn't racist.
Amen. There, I feel cleansed. Thank you so much. I do.
You're welcome.
Merry Christmas wishes from Pro Paint at 1116 Overland and Burley. The best paint and best stains, best advice, and they've got a lot of gift certificates too. So thank you very much, all the crew over there at Pro Paint in Burley. Merry Christmas, along with Golden Valley Warehouse at 468 West, 100 South of Burley, locally owned and operated, quality seed at competitive prices. Wishing you a Merry Christmas, and our friends at Butte Irrigation at 116 South, 600 West, Highway 27 in Paul, and a new one, 22342 Kimberly Road, just a little bit north of Kimberly, right there on Kimberly Road. And they say Merry Christmas to all the folks that need water and irrigation systems. You better believe it. And our friends at Magic Valley Carpet at 613 D Street. Let me say 13 again. It sounds better if you say it right. 613 D Street in Rupert. And they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I honestly came to tears the other night watching a story. It was night before last, and I'm going to carry this story into the next half hour after our break at the bottom. But it's even hard for me to talk about it right now because my heart went out to a family and a man that had insurance coverage on his family, and his wife has cancer, and she's taking treatments, chemo, and the family's resources have been dwindled down, and they're working through their problems with the policy that they had, and thanks to Obamacare. Oh, I'm so upset about this mess. I don't care who gets on the air. Don't you ever try to defend Obamacare with me. Ever. Because we'll get into a real rip-roaring face-to-face confrontation, because this is one of the most insidious things that's ever happened to the United States of America and its citizenry. People have lost their coverage. People that are on kidney dialysis. People that are taking cancer treatments. They don't know what to do. This family now has had their insurance canceled. This family does not know how they're going to get coverage right now. This family absolutely is in a quandary. They can't go back on the new coverage that's been proposed and see her, the wife's cancer doctor, the oncologist. They have to switch. They don't have coverage. And it's all on account of Obamacare coming in and destroying people's lives. Don't give me this garbage about, well, their policy wasn't very good according to the Obamacare standards, and so that's why they were forced to have the policy canceled. What right does the government have to do that to anybody? What right does a dictator sitting in the throne office of the Oval Office of the White House have in designing a plan that's going to hurt more people than it's ever going to help? What right does he have to cancel policies on millions of Americans in this country just to make sure that a certain few get an insurance policy that's going to cost the rest of us, literally, an arm and a leg? And my heart breaks for people that have lost policies and coverage. They don't know what they're going to do. We're going to talk about this much more. I just, anytime I get a chance, and I mean this, I'm not going to backwater on this, anytime I get a chance to damn, literally, Obamacare, I'm going to do it. Gee, I hope the NSA heard that. Don't forget Travel Lube Supply at 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn, with all your pipe insulation tape, pipe wrap insulation. Jim's all wrapped up in himself over there. Electric water pipe heating cables, Pink Bubba ropes, fuel filters. They've got everything for you at Travel Lube Supply, Pink Bubba ropes. You be sure and get a hold of him today, 438-8730. Travel Lube Supply, they deliver the goods, and they're really nice people. Time for the Capital Press Ag Minute. And it's brought to you by some other really nice people, and that's Pacific Steel and Recycling. They've got two locations to serve you at 320 West Main in Burley and 1987 Highland Avenue East in Twin Falls. And today is the day that they're going to be drawing the name of the winner, of the person that went in there with all the canned food and left it there to help the Helping Hand missions. That's nice. I tell you, there's really some great people in this area. And Pacific Steel and Recycling says, thank you. Thank you very much. Here now, the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
A tightening cattle supply and strong global demand for beef will keep cattle prices elevated through 2014, according to one industry insider. Cattle numbers on January 1st, 2013 were down 1.6% from a year earlier, and the U.S. inventory is expected to be down another 2% at the start of 2014, said Casey Bierroth, an analyst for AgriBeef. Tight feeder cattle and calf supplies will continue for at least another 2 years before any real herd expansion can be realized. That will keep the beef supply tight through 2015, he said. U.S. feeder cattle and calf cash prices are record high in the high 160s and mid 180s per hundredweight, respectively.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West's Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Oh, thank you very much. Brought to you by our friends, and they really are friends, with the best in recycling for you at Pacific Steel and Recycling. Again, 2 locations serving you, and they've been offering 10 cents per pound more on the aluminum cans and also $20 per ton on scrap iron and tin, serving you at Pacific Steel and Recycling, Burley and Twin Falls. I want some calls. Come on, give me some jingles on the old landline right now, and I'd love to hear your Yes, ma'am. You scared me.
We've got Mr. Mike Crapo on the phone for you.
I had no clue that he was going to be calling in, but it's a blessing and an honor. And Good morning, Senator Mike Crapo, as you walk through the door and say howdy, just like Minnie Pearl. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Zeb? Good.
Well, I think let's get all the formalities out of the way first and foremost. Merry Christmas, my dear friend.
Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you and all of those there and all of your listeners.
Oh, Mike, I tell you, ad-libbing without knowing that you were going to call in, I've got 1,000 things to ask you about, and I want to know where you stand, and I'll tell you what, I'll arbitrate with you if you stand in the wrong side of this story. I adamantly am going to get madder than the dickens if they put through the vote to cut back the pension plans and the coverage to our military in order to save money on the new budget. I'm telling you, you got one mad cowboy here if they do that.
Well, you got one mad cowboy here, too. I absolutely agree with you on that. We have had a procedural vote in the Senate on it already, and the final vote on it will happen this afternoon in the Senate. And, Zeb, I'm sorry to tell you that this budget agreement is going to pass.
That's not right, Mike, and you know it. These military people have put their lives on the line. They're coming back. They've got devastating injuries to take care of. They've donated their life and their time and their family's life and time to making sure that the U.S. was well represented with the best military in the world, and now they're being lied to and canceled on the promises that they signed for. This is atrocious, and somebody needs a black eye over this.
Well, you're right, and the fact is that this is about $6 or $7 billion of about a $70 or $80 billion budget agreement, and there is no reason that we couldn't go in, and even those who want to pass the budget agreement for other reasons should agree that we should go in and fix this. Now, I can't support it for not only this reason, but for other reasons as well. But we can't even get them to agree to let it be put forward for an amendment.
Mike, we've got so many areas of waste, and I don't have to tell you this, but you and I have sat in the same studio and talked to each other. I consider you a very good friend. But I'm telling you, when we put money into programs to see how fast a shrimp can run on a treadmill, for God's sakes, Mike, this is stupid.
It is, and it is beyond explanation for why this kind of a provision had to be put into a budget agreement like this. There were so many other ways that the offsets could have been provided in ways that made sense. For example, you've identified one egregious type of spending that goes on in Washington, but there's a tremendous amount of that, and we easily could have come up with the kinds of offsets that would eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government rather than turning to our military pensions. I really, it's mind-numbing to understand how that was agreed to be put into place.
How can, and I'm going to be very fair on this until I hear your response, but how can Paul Ryan be that naive to back that plan to cut the budget for the military?
Well, you know, I don't have an explanation for that. I really don't. I did expect that he was under the kind of pressure to reach a deal that would cause him to agree to have some kind of revenue increase. As you know, the president keeps talking about revenue increases. and not calling them tax increases. And I believed that Paul Ryan would go along with some kinds of increases in fees and so forth that I don't support either. But I just don't have an explanation for you as to why they went to basically forcing the men and women who have put their lives on the line for us and who had a pension plan to receive or to have to pay for more into that plan in order to obtain the benefits that were promised to them.
I want the audience to know that we're talking to Senator Mike Crapo, United States Senator Mike Crapo from Idaho. And Mike, I'm going to say this and I mean this, from the get-go of possibly having Obamacare thrust upon us, had way back programs years ago, warned us about all the pitfalls and all the problems that it was going to create. And the other night, Mike, when I was watching television about this man that had coverage to make sure that his wife with her cancer treatments was going to be taken care of, had coverage for his kids, had coverage for himself, and now it's been canceled. He doesn't know what he's going to do to get coverage for his wife. She can't even go back and see the same oncologist. This is so alarming that a government and a president can turn into a dictator and put forth a program that forces and coerces people almost at the point of a gun to buy into something that is so absolutely shameful.
It's beyond alarming, and as you appropriately and correctly said, many of us have been making this case from the outset. I led the floor fight on Obamacare in the context of opposing the tax increases that are in it, and people are now starting to feel the tax increases up to the tune of about $800 billion to $1 trillion of new taxes that fall squarely on the middle class, not the wealthy. And now people are starting to see that, in fact, the president's promise that they could keep their insurance if they wanted it was absolutely false. They're starting to see that they can't keep their doctors. The president said that the average family's health insurance was going to go down by $2,500. We are seeing now that the reverse of that is true, and that it's going up by thousands of dollars. And even Americans who can keep their health insurance, which is an increasingly smaller number, are finding out that the cost of that insurance and the deductibles on that insurance are all changing and skyrocketing. And, the only positive side of this is that finally Americans are starting to see the truth. This is mindful of that comment by Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House at the time, who said, we're going to have to pass this bill to see what's in it. Now Americans are seeing that what the president promised in so many different ways is just flatly untrue.
Mike, I hate to correct you a little bit, but that's an oxymoron to use the term mindful and Nancy Pelosi in the same sentence.
Understood.
Okay. But seriously, Mike, not only the loss of coverage, but now economically, you stated a long time ago that this was going to be a rock around our neck and somebody was going to drop us in the river because small business owners, which make up about 60% of United States jobs, they're cutting back on full-time employment. They're starting to make people work part-time. And 66% of these small businesses are going to cancel their insurance coverage. Whoa, this is going to be an economic blow I don't think we can withstand.
Well, I don't either. And, the president exempted the small business or the businesses from the mandates for 1 year. But we have the Internal Revenue Service, remember, put in charge of enforcing all of this and making sure that all Americans follow these mandates. And when the mandate starts coming down, as it is now on individuals, and forcing individuals to deal with this, as the businesses have to deal with it, I think we're just going to see another round of collapse. And I'll remind you, I said at the time, and I continue to say, there is a desire here to move our country to a socialized, government-controlled, one-payer system in which we don't have to deal with insurance companies because the country controls, the government controls your insurance. And I can see now, as we argued then, but I think most Americans are starting to see now that that's exactly the direction behind Obamacare legislation.
Mike, when you look across the aisle, you're sitting in the Senate, you look across the aisle, and you look at the Democratic senators, surely they've got to be a little worried. Surely they've got to think about putting their tail between their legs and running at the next election because how can they support this mess?
Well, they are worried. Unfortunately, they're not worried enough, and I believe that many of them think that they can just continue to say the spin and make the claims that will get them past the next election. A number of them are saying, well, we've got to fix it, but it's a good bill still, and we just have a few problems, like, we fouled up on the website, and we'll hire some smarter people to fix the website, and then everything will be good. And so they are still engaged in denying the true impacts of the law. And, I heard somebody say recently, and it was so true, that the website may be a mistake, but the rest of the things that are happening under the law that people are now recognizing were no mistake. This law is playing out exactly as it was designed to play out. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're still trying to just avoid that and give it the spin that we'll fix the website and then everything will be good.
Well, let me shift gears here a little bit, Mike. Last question, and this is something that really is scary to me. John Kerry, as Secretary of State, that's laughable at the utmost because of his past Vietnam experiences and basically his pacifist attitude. Now he's Secretary of State, and they sat down and were, quote-unquote, negotiating with Iran, and I'm very ashamed of our country and our negotiation if they couldn't up front say to the leaders of Iran, look, we're going to talk to you boys, and we might consider lifting sanctions, but I want Pastor Abedini and the others that you're holding hostage at the embassy in 10 minutes or the deal's off. Why didn't that happen?
I can tell you their answer, although first let me tell you that I completely agree with you and that I've spoken to Secretary Kerry personally about this. I spoke with Secretary Clinton when she was Secretary personally about this. I've discussed this with our negotiating team and have been a part of many actions in Congress to raise attention to this, and we did not get that kind of attention to it. Now, and I'm not going to tell you that I agree with this, but I'll answer your question by telling you what the answer given by Secretary Kerry was. His answer was that if they were to have brought up the Americans who are being held wrongly in Iran as hostages, then the negotiations would have been held hostage to these hostages, and he did not want that to happen. So, look, I don't agree with that. I continue to push for the United States to take a strong stand and insist that Pastor Abedini be released. But at this point, that is the position that was taken by the administration.
I'm going to
I will say, in full disclosure, they do say that they are engaged in negotiations and they are taking it seriously and are doing many things to try to obtain his release. But they did not. They specifically chose not to make it a part of the negotiations over the Iran nuclear sanctions.
You know, Mike, I'm basically a redneck, and if there's a fight to be had, I'll jump in. And I honestly am appalled that we've lost our standing, if you will, in the world. And that's why these little mini regimes that want to play powder puff football with us and win, they're telling us what to do instead of us demanding. I think we've lost our respect in the world. Don't you agree?
To a very significant extent, that is true. And that's also playing out right here. You know, the Iran sanctions, the economic sanctions, which, by the way, I was a part of developing in the Banking Committee, which is where the jurisdiction of them lies in the United States Senate, and where we have a new regime of sanctions ready to move now, which the President does not want us to take action on. Those sanctions are what brought Iran to the negotiating table. Those sanctions are having an impact in Iran, and rather than backing out of the sanctions, we should be staying strong. We should be putting forward our strongest case and saying, look, we are going to continue with this effort until we have a final resolution. And it's unfortunate that instead we see the effort to try to diminish it and back away.
Absolutely.
I'd also say, the administration did not want us to pass the first round of sanctions. They're taking credit for them now, but at this, after the fact that they do get credit for implementing them effectively, but we had a terrific fight at the time just trying to get the administration to agree to let us pass the first round of sanctions.
Absolutely. Senator Mike Crapo, and I wished you were here in the studio because my wife Deanne just finished baking all the Christmas muffins and the cookies and the bread and everything. And I know, of course, you're on a diet and wouldn't eat more than 30 or 40, but anyhow, you're welcome to come here anytime.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I don't get in there before they're all gone, tell her, I think I already did Merry Christmas, but tell everybody there Merry Christmas for me, and you have an extra one for me.
All right. United States Senator Mike Crapo, God's blessings. Merry Christmas to you, sir, and thank you for calling in this morning. Thank you so much.
You bet. Take
All right,
care.
sir. Thank you. Well, needless to say, Gina and I were both a little bit shocked. Their office hadn't called us, but it worked out very well. Gina, thank you again for, at the turn of a wheel, to get everything done for us over there and get him on the air. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Woo! I was not aware. I was absolutely not aware that they were going to be calling in. As a matter of fact, I had left a message the other day at the office in Washington, and I said, sure like to hear from you. Well, we did.
Yep. Well, and his name popped up on caller ID, and unfortunately, we did have a lot of phone calls, but I didn't know how much time we had, so I apologize to all of the listeners who wanted to call in and ask questions, but since we didn't know that he was calling in, his time was tight.
Absolutely.
Calls, but his name popped up on caller ID, and I'm like, wow.
Okay.
Well, he was not on the list, but here we go.
There you go.
And
Hey,
speaking of phone calls, we've got Al on the line.
I tell you what, would you tell my dear friend I'll be with him? We've got to get Michael Rogers' weather in real quick. And the weather this hour is brought to you by Quali's Electronics. Great big Christmas sale going on right now. Oh, my goodness. They've got all the TVs, Sony, Samsung, LG, and all more. They've got everything there for you. Great local service and delivery. Underline those words, because that's the truth. Great local service and delivery. These people are good. Store hours for their huge Christmas sale, 9 to 8, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 on Saturdays. Merry Christmas from Quali's Electronics, the big sale going on right now at 1730 Kimberly Road. Here's Michael Rogers with a weather update.
Hi there, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. We've got some weather action coming up over the next 72 hours. Let's get to it. So you got snow coming up. We'll start tonight. It'll continue into tomorrow, going into tomorrow night. When it's over said and done, about a half inch on the ground. But when you get a storm coming in from the Pacific Northwest, one of the things that they like to do, especially in the Magic Valley. 41 for the high. Tomorrow, the daytime high will be in the low 30s. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. Tell me whether you got.
Brought to you this hour. Thank you, Michael, by Quali's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. And now here comes our old philosopher. Hello, Al.
Good morning, Mr. Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I was watching that fiasco yesterday at the Senate. You know, American people, you better wake up, wise up, and start voting the way you think you better, because you've got people in the Senate, and I'm going to name them: Harry Reid, Schumer, Durbin, Feinstein, Boxer. Them people has got to be taken out of there. They're obstruction of justice.
Well, okay, but let's be fair. Paul Ryan greatly let me down with his advocacy and pushing the advocacy of this budget bill to include cutbacks to our military veterans, and I am going to fight him. I'm going to call his office after the program this morning. I'm going to let him know, as a former Wisconsinite myself, how I absolutely am not in favor of what he did and said.
Well, what I'm talking about is the way Harry Reid...
I know.
All that stuff's sent up there, and Harry Reid and Schumer and that bunch, they get together, and they put it way underneath the table where nobody can read it, and that's obstruction of justice in the American system.
I agree.
They need to be taken out of that office.
You need a big broom and a dustpan back there, Al. They all got to go as far as I'm concerned.
Get a big Hoover vacuum cleaner and then suck out the whole damn thing.
God bless you. Merry Christmas, my friend.
Merry Christmas.
Caller, I'll be right with you. I'm running a little bit behind. I got to get some words in here for our dear friends at Mad River Laser, Nicole and the rest of the crew at 700 South Oneida Street in Rupert. The big news I want to remind you of, for all the specialty items to give people, whether it's custom-made pens or whether it's custom-engraved buck knives, they've got them for sale over there. Dad would love to have that with his name on them. All these time of specialty things they have at Mad River Laser, but they're moving right after the first of the year to their huge new location right on the square in Rupert. Don't miss it. Mad River Laser. Call them at 436-2293. Also, a quick note, if you're looking for a great place to go eat, oh my, Sophie's Chatterbox right on the square in Rupert. It's delicious, 530 East Street. And don't forget to order your pies for Christmas, your bread, your cookies, your cinnamon rolls. Oh, it's delicious. You're going to love it at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Sir.
You know, what's hard to understand, and, well, I can understand it, but why is the Judge Roberts, why isn't he getting any flack on this? Those judges, they make these stupid decisions. He could have avoided this whole thing, but they make these stupid decisions, and then they don't get any back rap at all.
I'll go one further with you, Dwayne. Let me go one further with you real quick because I'm down to 7 minutes. You answer this question. Why didn't Roberts and the rest of the Supreme Court put a caveat on the Obamacare package that was given to them and say this: we will pass it as being legal, but you'd better not change it after we give it back to you. And here's the thing that upsets me. Obama and his henchmen have changed the Obamacare Act so many times after the Supreme Court ruled on it. Let me ask you this question. Why then isn't it null and void?
Right, and how come the Congress doesn't step in there, take that before the Supreme Court tomorrow, and have them judge on it now?
Absolutely.
There's no reason why they can't.
You know what it is? Dwayne, you know what it is. You know what the answer is. These politicians on either the right or the left side of the aisle are too damn gutless. They're not bringing it up. The Obamacare that was passed by the Supreme Court, unfortunately, and Roberts with the deciding vote, is not the Obamacare that's in application right now.
Well, that's the question. I called in Crapel was on there, but that was the question I was going to ask him. How come you guys don't have enough guts to take that before the court right now?
In fairness to Mike, though, I got to say this in fairness to Mike, Dwayne, pardon my interruption, but he was one that was very vocal about it and did bring it up to all the powers that be back there that the program that was passed on by the Supreme Court is not the program that they're implementing now. And he was a voice crying in the wilderness back there. I had him on the program the day before he got mad about it. So I know he was, but it takes more than just him, for Pete's sakes.
Well, I like Crapel. Don't misunderstand me. But what I'm saying, as a group, how come they can't muster up enough people to insist on that?
Absolutely. I am in your court. You got the ball, and we'll pass it back and forth because I'll guarantee you, I am so upset about how Obamacare is hurting everybody. Dwayne, you heard the cow. I got a whole bunch of calls and commercials. God bless you, and Merry Christmas. Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas.
Woo! I'll be right with you. I'm running out of time. I got to get this in real quick. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. Rudolph fell off the roof and hit you in the shoulder, and you can't move your arm. Well, go to Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. Minor emergencies, major care. You were stapling all the wires of the lights together and you put a staple through your thumb? Well, minor emergency, major care at Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. Their quality care, save money, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 9, Sundays 1 to 7. No appointments necessary. They will help you. The doctor will see you now. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley. And don't forget, they wish you a Merry Christmas. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. I guess you can hear me okay. We're near Rogerson. We're going to end up with something like Mogadishu if they keep on cutting back our military, because they'll be running fewer helicopters to support our troops who are on long-range patrols.
I can't agree with you more, and I'll tell you what, the military was basically lied to. They were signing up for what they thought was going to be a long-term run to support our country and turn the military into a career, and then they pull their benefits and pull what they signed up for. I find it appalling. They were basically, right now, they're being lied to, and I think that's atrocious.
That's going to cost more lives.
Absolutely. Tony, you drive carefully.
We will.
All right. God bless you, man. Merry Christmas.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Oh, I'm telling you, folks, this Obamacare, I hate it. I would like to have the opportunity to dig a hole a whole, and put all of Obamacare in there, never to be uncovered. And if need be, put the hole big enough for the Pelosi's and the Schumers and the Reids and everybody else. How can they support the most idiotic piece of legislation ever in this country that's hurting so many people? How? I wish, and I've said this before, but it's never going to happen. You talk about myths. This is never going to happen. I wish a Democrat would have the backbone, the guts, or whatever to call this program and tell me why Obamacare is good after it's hurt so many people and it's just barely off the ground. Caller, quickly. I've only got a minute. Go fast, please.
Yes, I talked to a farmer here the other day, and he's loving this Obamacare.
Why?
He claims no... on his taxes, they go off his tax records, and he claims no income on his taxes. His insurance went down from $950 a month down to $250 a month with 5 of his family.
So basically,
we're subsidizing these farmers with this health insurance again because they're not having any income on their taxes.
Well, I'm not going to lump everybody together and say all farmers, but in this particular case, I will say to him, you're being subsidized, you're being given a gratuity, and that's why you're loving it, because you're taking part in a kind of a cut back from the government, and I find that appalling. Most of the people that are suffering right now had policies that were in effect. Their families, their wives, their husbands were able to see doctors, the doctor of their choice, and get the treatment, whether it's kidney problems, cancer, whatever, and it's hurting way too many people, and it should be stopped and thrown away.
And that's what he said. He said his agent told him that the small businessman is going to love it, but it's going to hurt you and I, the people that are making a wage, because we're going to have to cover for them.
Amen. I got to run, sir, but I do appreciate your call. God bless you, man. Thank you. Don't forget our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness, all 7 locations serving you. Service is the key word. All your winter traction tires, snows in the forecast. Get in there today. They can help you. They've got the studded tires. They've got all the different tread designs. They've got the best for safe wintertime driving. And don't forget, too, they've got all the batteries. They've got all the snow chains. They've got the snow wheels, and the best in brake service. Absolutely. Locations with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run. Be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, I love that. I love that. I got to add my own bell to it. I love that music. Merry Christmas, everybody. A beautiful time of the year. Thank you so much, Gina. Oh, welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with our great advertisers like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Always at your disposal. They're going to love that. Sorry, Kelly. Anyway, always at your disposal, Western Waste Services. And believe me, they've got all the dumpsters in various sizes. But I want to stress right now, get on the route service to have your trash picked up. It's gone. It's out of there. We've been on that route service for a long time. Absolutely the best in service. Boy, you can set your watch by them. Super people taking care of your garbage. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get your calls into them today at 734-6969. I also want to say thank you very much to Joel Heward, the owner of Hanson Mortuary, and this young man and his staff. Wow. professional, and so community-oriented. Absolutely with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. And they pledge to serve you and your family as you want to be served. So please contact them today. When there's the passing of a loved one, please contact them at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number, 436-5636, and they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. I have a dear friend in Colorado. Actually, I got a whole bunch of friends in Colorado, and this man is one of them, and I am very impressed with him. Nice guy, great personality, excellent writer, and he has a blog called the Horse Sense Blog and has written books. No Tomorrows, one of his most famous, and glad to have him on the program. Good morning, Doug Johnson. How are you?
Well, good morning and Merry Christmas, Zeb.
Oh, thank you, sir. How's everything back in the land of milk and money?
Well, I think milk's okay. Money's hard to come by these days for pretty much all of us, but I think probably your listeners are feeling the same thing. This economy is not good.
You know, there's so many topics that we can talk about this morning, but the one thing I wanted to bring up right away this morning with you, and we've talked about it in the past, we've kind of beat this dead horse many, many times, but every day, Doug, every day as an embarrassment to this great country, the United States of America, Obamacare and this administration and their beliefs and ideology, things are almost to a laughingstock about what's being presented to the American people and how we're perceived around the world.
Well, it is, and sadly, I think this is part of their plan. They don't care how it comes across. They're trying to force a single-payer system. But, you know, Zeb, I'm going to, if I may, take a couple minutes here and take a turn and talk about something, and Obamacare is part of it, that I think we're missing. We keep focusing on the small issues. We focus on the budget deal that went through this week that was ridiculous and horrific. We focus on Obamacare. We focus on all these things. But we miss the big picture, which is the issues, the real issue that matters. And I'll give a couple of quick examples, and I'll tie them all together if you'll allow me that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Last week I wrote a blog post called What Will the Government Force You to Do? And this week I wrote a follow-up to it called My Most Important Post About Saving America. And in those two posts, I raised 3 issues in the news, and I want to just quickly state what they were and then talk about how we tend to look at them and how we should look at them and what we're missing. What we tend to do, for example, in last week's post, I talked specifically about a case of a baker in Denver who was asked by a gay couple to make a cake to celebrate their wedding, and he said, I'll sell you anything in my store, I'll make anything you want, but it's against my Christian convictions. I really can't make a cake for you celebrating a gay marriage, but I'll find you another baker who will if you can't find one. I'll be happy to help you with that, and like I say, anything else you want to buy is fine. They sued. The ACLU got involved. A judge ruled that not only must he serve them, but if he doesn't, that he is subject to, and this is really important, he is subject to both fines and jail time for not serving, for what the judge deemed as discrimination. And it wasn't discrimination, it's religious freedom, because he didn't say, I won't serve you because you're gay. He said, I won't serve you this one creative item that I can make because it goes against my religious convictions. That was one story. The other two, real quickly. Last week, as I'm sure you folks have heard, there was a terrible shooting incident in the Denver area at Arapahoe High School. But the incident, one girl was injured. She's in a coma. Hopefully she'll come out of that and recover. But the shooter, from the time he entered the school to the time he was dead on the ground, was 80 seconds because there was an armed security officer in the school who, when the shooter was confronted, the shooter turned his own gun on himself and killed himself, realizing he couldn't stand up to the security officer. But the media is not reporting that. And they're not reporting that he had socialist views. They reported that they scrubbed it. And they're not reporting that. They're not reporting the fact he was a leftist. Third story, Obamacare. Forbes magazine reported this past week that Obamacare, the Health and Human Services and the White House are asking insurers to cover people under Obamacare without being paid premium for it, and supposedly they'll make it up to them later. But what they're not telling you, and I cite in my blog post, and I give the link to the mandate, is their quote-unquote requests are actually forcing the insurers, because there's a threat if you don't do what we request, there will be penalties against you. Now, my whole point is it's really easy on the surface. Each one of those has interesting things to talk about, and they're important. But the bigger picture, Zeb, that I think we really have to focus on this and all these other issues, is the tyranny of our government. We have a government that is saying to a man who owns a business that we don't care what your religious beliefs are, we're going to rehabilitate your thinking, and if you don't do what we say, we're sending you to jail. This is like the Soviet Union sending people to the Gulag. This is like North Korea sending people to the labor camps. We have a government saying to businesses that if you don't cover these people and lose money, you cover them for free, we're going to penalize you. Penalizing businesses is no different than penalizing citizens, because our businesses are what make our economy work. And the shooting story, they're manipulating data, they're manipulating information so we don't get all the information, trying to affect the way we think about gun control. This is all tyranny, and that's the bigger picture I'm really, really concerned about right now, because we can rant and rave about this issue or that issue, but the big issue is we need to replace this government, and it's not just the leftists. Those 12 Republican senators who voted for this budget bill should be voted out of office immediately. We have real problems in this country, and it's time that we really take to the streets, frankly. That's my little rant for the morning.
I did not interrupt you for the simple reason as to people that listen to my program every day thought they were hearing the second Psalm of Zeb, chapter 7, because I've said exactly the same thing on my program every day. We are being taken over by tyrannical forces that absolutely don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about what's in the Constitution as far as affording rights for Christians and everyone else in this country. And I do not understand, and I'm going to bare my chest open here, Doug, because I do not understand why there hasn't been a revolt, why there hasn't been an outcry, why there haven't been citizens in the street just absolutely denouncing Obama and his ideology. I can't answer my own question, because it seems to me we've lost our backbone.
Well, I think that's exactly it. We have. And what I find tragic is that people don't recognize that this comes down to not just raising a stink over the fact that benefits were cut for veterans or something, these are all important issues, but the bigger issue of how we've gotten here and that we're allowing these people to continue down this path.
Absolutely.
Talk about, let's talk for a second about this budget deal. And I'm going to be a really hardcore businessman here, business consultant. First of all, I'm very opposed to cutting benefits for disabled veterans. This is something, these people fought and were injured for our country, and we should care for them. But those who are not injured, I would say, if I were a consulting with the government, I would say the hard news is we need to look at everything. And once we've cleaned up all the inefficiencies in government, which certainly we don't do, then if we still have to cut more, then we may have to look at cutting some things that hurt. But we have to decide on what our priorities are. But our government doesn't do that. They just keep spending and keep increasing debt, and we keep reelecting these people. And then they stand on this whole thing and they'll say, well, you can't attack Obamacare because you reelected him, and that was his program, and so we really can't say anything while he's in office. And my response to that is, even if the American public agreed with Obamacare, which they never have, reelecting Obama was not about keeping Obamacare, but even if the American people at that time agreed with it, they have a right to change their mind and say, we don't want it now.
Doug,
and the politicians aren't letting us do that, and so it's time for us to actually take action at the ballot box and say, okay, we're done with you. We don't care how long you've been there or how nice a guy you are. We're done. We're replacing you with somebody else.
Doug, you and I were joined at the lip, L-I-P, on a lot of things that are said here on this program, and I am outraged. I am outraged because I know a lot of soldiers coming back home. I know a lot of the families. I know that they signed up to protect our country and our way of life and our Constitution. I know that they were given a promise as to what they would have for their commitment for this country. And yet, this administration, this government, still spends millions of dollars on watching a shrimp on a treadmill to try to figure out why they run going so fast, and they spend all kinds of wasted money, but the first thing they want to do with this administration is cut back on our military and cut back on our promises to our vets. And I will say this, and I will not be corrected, and I will not apologize. I damn this administration for their actions.
Well, I fully agree with you, Zeb, and I will go one step further. Obviously, the shrimp on the treadmill is absolute insanity why we're spending, especially when we're broke. It's not like we have an abundance of money. But I also get a little tired, and now here's where I'm going to get people mad at me. But as you know, I don't really mind people being mad at me. But we also need to hold our military accountable because, frankly, and I've been a government contractor, I know how it works. The waste in our military is ridiculous with money. They have plenty of money if they would get rid of the waste, and they don't. They waste billions upon billions of dollars a year.
Well, stop. Just, Doug, just a minute.
The efficiencies throughout our government, and it doesn't just come from Congress. We need people who are running the various departments, divisions, and sections of our government to be efficient, too. That said, we should hold them accountable while making sure they don't cut in areas where it's going to hurt the people who serve us the most, and that is the people we've just talked about, those who go overseas, they fight, many of them die, many others get injured, their lives are changed forever, and we have an obligation to care for these people, even if it means we sacrifice something else to do it, because these people have done more for our country than most of us could ever dream of doing.
You know, I tried to interrupt you a minute ago and add more validity to your point because it's so well spoke. Last night, as a classic example, I was listening to a story about all of these trucks that were manufactured to go over to the Middle East, and they were for a special purpose. And instead of bringing them home, they're just going to bury them in the desert. And the cost is like, what was it, $200,000 per truck, these specially made trucks? And I slapped my forehead and I said, what kind of absolute idiocy is going on with the three-piece suits and the wingtip shoes that are leading this country that they could do something so frivolous, and then they'll turn around and try to take the money away from the actual people that need it, our veterans that have come back with debilitating injuries. This country needs a shake-up and a shake-down.
Oh, absolutely. The irresponsible is unbelievable. I'll give you a quick, real short story. A number of years ago, when we were early in the Iraq War, I was doing some consulting with the military, and I was at a military base one day talking to the procurement office about something, and I was just curious in their process about how they did something and maintained getting high quality for what they were purchasing and yet controlled cost. And the guy looked at me and he point blank, Zeb, to this day, this has been 10 years or more, to this day it still floors me. He looked at me and said, we don't care about cost. It's not our money. We just, get what we need to get.
Oh, my gosh.
And if we have to manipulate the bid process to get what we need to, and it costs more, we just do that. And I looked at him and I about went off the wall in front of a room full of people, and I said, well, it may not be your money, but it's my money, and I want you to have the best there is of everything. I don't want to cut a corner for our military at all, but I expect you to get it with responsibility, which means you're reasonable with how you spend money and you're careful with it and you use it carefully, because then you will actually have more money to spend. And this guy just didn't get it. And I walked out of that room floored, and I learned over a few years working with the military in a couple different bases that this is a very common mindset. And so this is where I have a beef, because they waste money that they should be careful with, too. So, we should, and as a businessman, I would set up the system to reward them for being efficient with money, but not being cheap. In other words, buy value, don't buy price. And but you see, it shows the other side of the equation. We have built a system that is so convoluted that it doesn't work efficiently. It costs the taxpayers more money. We hurt our military enlisted folks when they need us most, and the taxpayers bite the bullet on the whole thing. And now our country's on the verge of collapsing because of it. It's just outrageous what goes on, and this is why we need to clean house in Congress, because we need people in there who will stop and say, we are here using the people's money. We're here to serve them, and we have to be efficient with it.
I cannot argue one statement you made, but I will say this, and I'm going to say this is one of the biggest hypocrisies, one of the absolute biggest jokes that's ever been purported to the American public, and we have some right near me. I'd like to see them all tipped over on the ground and hacked into a million pieces. We are spending and wasting millions and millions and millions of dollars on green energy that is not, will not, and possibly never will show a profit. The wind energy turbines, the solar energy, all of this is nothing more than a despicable, not funny joke from this administration, and I despise them.
Well, you're absolutely right. And then to add to that, we have a moronic, and I use that word very carefully, a moronic administration that increases requirements of our government agencies, military and otherwise, to use more and more green energy when green energy has been shown not to be efficient, and when we are sitting on some of the greatest oil and natural gas reserves in the world and can't even drill them. The stupidity of this is just beyond me. And I guess, I go back to being a businessman. As a businessman, if I had people working for me doing this, they'd be gone so fast to be ridiculous.
Absolutely.
This is an absolute atrocity, what they do, but they do it because their ideology outweighs everything else. And this is what we have to realize. We are up against an ideology. It's not a political party, it's an ideology. And this ideology is very sick. It is Marxist communist, and there's no other word for it. I'm tired of people using the word socialism. It is Marxist communist. That's what we're up against, and we must stop it.
Doug, I forgot to tell you that, of course, we have new listeners on our program, and they are, of course, housed in Utah, and they're known as the NSA. They are listening into this program daily and taking notes, and I certainly hope they picked up on everything that you and I just said in the last 15 minutes. That being said, Doug, we're creating the umbrella of the problem. We're showing everybody how to get out of the rain, but we're not stopping the storm. What we need to do is come up with some way to stop the storm. I don't know if it's going to call for insurrection in the streets. I don't know if it's going to cause for insurrection at the ballot box. I don't know if it's going to call for some mode of letting the government know in a very finite move that we're fed up with it and we're not going to take it anymore. We got to have some answers. People have got to do something, Doug, because our heels are on the edge of the cliff.
Well, they are. And let me first go back to the first thing you said. Yes, I should offer a greeting to the NSA. It's nice to know we have listeners even there. They've been, and the government have been listening to me and listening to my phone and my emails for years. I'm quite aware, so I really don't think much about it anymore. But it's nice they listen in. I'm glad. I hope they enjoy our show here that we're having. But that said, I think you're exactly right. And, I'm certainly not an advocate for a revolution in the sense of how this country was founded. But I will say this. If they keep pushing, the American people do have a line. And I believe they will get to a point where there will be a response that they do not expect from the American people. Because the American people, we have in our genes, so to speak, we have freedom, we have a liberty in our genes. And you don't easily take that away from a people. They're incrementally trying, but there comes a point where people say enough. And I think that the government doesn't realize they're pushing that. And so I think that they need to wake up, and the politicians need to wake up to what's going on, or they're going to find themselves out on their ears so fast, and the American public will do whatever they have to do. Now, fortunately, our system has enough methods and processes that we can do a whole bunch of stuff peacefully through the system, legally, and make changes. But the key is we all got to get out there and get busy and work hard to do that. And that's the big issue. So many people don't. They don't vote. They don't do what they need to do. They don't talk to friends about this stuff. And we need to start doing that because we definitely have a method within our system to change things and bring this country back to where it needs to be.
Absolutely.
And that's obviously the first option.
Absolutely. Doggone it, Johnson, things went too fast. We've got a quick call, and I've only got a minute left. Caller, very quick. Go.
I didn't get the first part of this, but they ought to run him for president. Constitution says that if they can't run the country, throw them out. Have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.
God bless you. That was short and sweet. I'll tell you what, wouldn't that be an amazing ticket? You as for president, me as vice president. We'd probably last, 6 hours?
You think we'd make it that long?
I hope so.
I'm not sure we get through the oath of office.
Listen, I want to wish you.
They would not put up with people like us. But it's a very flattering comment, and I think I appreciate people feeling that way. But the big point, and I'll say it quick because I know time's out here, Zeb. I'll say it quick. Right there's a perfect example. See, Americans understand when they hear the truth and they hear what's right. Now we need to stand up and we need to start to win people over to that, and always remember that America's revolution, the original War of Independence, only about 1/3 of the country supported it.
That's right.
1/3 didn't carry it away, and 1/3 were on the side of the British. So
That's
it doesn't take a majority. It takes a committed group to really go forward to win, and that's what we need to remember.
Amen. And now, a very serious note, from my house to yours, a very Merry Christmas to some dear friends. I hope in the next year that we can get together and see each other face to face and shake hands. Doug Johnson, the very best to you.
Thank you, Zeb, and same to you and all your listeners. Have a very, very Merry Christmas and a safe holiday season, and I will talk to you soon.
God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Okay, God bless you.
Doug Johnson, author of the Horse Sense blog and also the book No Tomorrows. I always enjoy having him on the air. Holy buckets, I'm running late. Don't forget, for all your life insurance, all your health insurance, your retirement planning, your employee benefits, it's all there at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Dean and Todd are dedicated. That's a good word right there. They are dedicated and responsive to your needs, and they will help you. Don't put it off. Get a hold of them today. Call them on the landline, 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, and by the way, everybody's getting their families together, and they're coming home for Christmas. And I've got a message from the Fairfield Inn and Suites, Burley, Idaho, 230 West 7th Street North in Burley, 677-5000. What you need to do is try to persuade Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred and Granny and Grampy and all the other relatives, stay at the Fairfield Inn. They've got indoor pool, hot tubs, free hot breakfast, and besides all that, you don't have to share your bathroom. Sick them over to the Fairfield Inn and Suites. Oh my, great idea. Holiday special of just $85 per night at the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Burley. Wow, it is time now. I'm running just about a minute late. But it's time now for our Christmas Carol of the day, and I really want to give a hearty thank you to Pickett Equipment Company, with my really good friend Steve Pickett and the rest of the crew. I wish them a very Merry Christmas. And they, of course, innovation is the key word for Pickett Equipment Company, the best in bean equipment all over the world. Absolutely. You give Steve and the crew a call at Pickett Equipment Company, 678-0855, or go on their website, picketequipment.com. Here now, our Christmas Carol of the day. I love it. I love it. Merry Christmas music right here once a day on Zeb at the Ranch. And thanks to our Christmas Carol being sponsored by Pickett Equipment Company, with Steve and the rest of the crew wishing you a Merry Christmas at 976 East Main Street in Burley. Thank you so much, Steve. We appreciate it. We're going to have Marianne Roskelley on the phone with us in just a moment. I want to remind you, before we do, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Holy cow, Santa specials over there with stocking stuffers like bar stools. I want to see you stuff a bar stool into a stocking. And they've got all other kinds of great buys, bookcases, and they've got recliners, and they've got, and by the way, on the recliners, you got to get in there and try them on. They've got probably the widest variety of different kinds of recliners right there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More to fit everybody. So stop in there. Bedroom sets, sofa and love seats, it's all there for Santa specials at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Let's go to the phone lines and say good morning and Merry Christmas to Mary Ann Roskelley. How are you, Mary Ann?
I'm fine, thank you, Zeb, and Merry Christmas to you.
God bless you for having the courage to come on the program.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity. Maybe we can clear up some misconceptions about our program and explain it maybe a little bit more clearly.
Well, Mary, do you like to be called Mary or Mary Ann?
I've always gone by Mary Ann.
All right. Well, Mary Ann, I want to say this first and foremost. Number one, your official title is what? The Food Service Supervisor for Cassia County Schools, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Folks, I want to say this, and I'm being emphatic about it, and I'm laying the law down on this. Marianne is talking about federal regulations. She's not talking about anything she can change. She's talking about federal regulations, so don't get mad at this lady. There, I took the heat off you already, Marianne.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, now that being said, I am appalled that the government has a one-size-fits-all philosophy, which is absolutely insane. You can correct any of my verbiage you want to, Marianne. I got big shoulders. But I think it's absolutely insane to lump everybody into the same pigeonhole and say, thou shalt eat this and nothing more, because that's what we deem necessary, and only that for your eating habits during the day. That is lunacy.
Well, we've always had regulations. We've always worked under regulations. I've been here 20 years, and this is the third change that I've seen in the regulations. When I first started, it was food-based, which is your common food groups, meat, grain, fruit, vegetable, and milk. And then we went to a nutrient base where we accounted for fat, and saturated fat and fiber, many of your vitamins, calories, and now we're back to food-based, which is your common food groups again.
Mm-hmm.
The main difference now is we have the focus is no longer on the entree, it's on the fruits and vegetables, and we've always had a minimum calorie requirement. Now we have a maximum calorie requirement.
Now, Marianne, I'm doing a lot of this off the cuff because I don't have a lot of the papers in front of me, but if I say again something that's inaccurate, please correct me.
Uh-huh.
But the caloric content for our students at the school lunch program is what? What is the total amount?
Okay, for lunch, it's broken down by age groups. And for lunch, our K through 5 is 550 to 650, and 6 through 8 is 600 to 700, and our 9 through 12 is 750 to 850.
All right, now I'm going to interrupt you right there, and I'm going to just flat tell you, as a former athlete that really participated in all sports in high school and in college, that you throw a 750 to 850 caloric content meal at me at lunchtime, and I'll guarantee you I'll end up eating the tray because that's not enough.
Well, that, like I said, like you've said, and it's the regulations that we're there to follow, and if we're dependent on federal money to fund our program, and to get that federal money, we have to follow those regulations.
But, Marianne, wouldn't you agree with me, though? And I want to be blunt about this, because many schools, and I know many schools, have decided to tell the federal government and the Obama administration to take a long walk off a short pier. I've talked to schools in Wisconsin. I've talked to schools in Texas. I've talked to schools in Arizona. I've talked to many supervisors that said, no, we're not going to take the money. We're not going to be bound by the federal government. Our kids are growing and they need to be fed.
In our area, with the level of poverty that we have, our lunches would be out of reach for many of our children because we're dependent. We get about $2 million from the federal government a year to run our program.
Mm-hmm. But when you say that, though, and believe me, Marianne, God bless you for having the courage to come on the program, and I know your hands are tied, literally, because of the federal regulations, but you and I both know that there are big people, there are short people, there are tall people, there are thin people, there are people that have different makeups, and they're all individuals, and you can't make a one-size-fits-all at 750 calories.
That's right, but at the same time, in the years past, our program's been blamed for obesity in children. And, when they eat one meal a day at school, sometimes two, many of our children eat breakfast also. But, we're not responsible for what goes on at home, for the inactivity of our children. And but we are taking the hit, and we're the ones that are going to have to make these changes.
I agree with you there, but Marianne, you know as well as I do, and you see it more than I do, but I've seen it enough to make me fighting mad, is that when I speak at various schools, and I happen to be invited there for a right after lunch assembly, and I am invited to go into the kitchen area and have lunch with the students and the faculty, and I see, and I'm going to use this, and I'm not exaggerating, 50% of the students students take their trays almost full and dump them because they don't like the food, nobody's a winner in that situation. The kids aren't being fed, they're not getting enough nutrition, and the taxpayer's paying for a waste paper basket.
Yeah, the waste, you're right, is just terrible in our schools, and it's worse now. The focus of our meals have changed from where they used to have to eat the entree or the main dish to now the focus is on the fruits and vegetables. They have to have fruits and vegetables on their tray to make it a reimbursable meal. At the same time, though, we can't, it's impossible, like you say, the one-size-fits-all to please all students.
Yeah. We have a call.
I find that Cassia County is a very diversified county.
Right.
The kids here in town will eat the pizza, hamburger, chicken nuggets, and things like that, where the kids in Oakley and Raft River and Declo, they enjoy the more home-cooked style food. And to make a menu that's, that pleases and satisfies all children is impossible.
Marianne, we have a call. Let's take the caller. Please keep it short so we can have much more time with Marianne Roskelly. Go ahead, please.
Well, are the children allowed to bring their own food in addition to what they might eat at the cafeteria?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, that call is made by the principal. As far as I know, most children, when I visit the schools, many children bring their own food. There again, we're required to provide a so-called healthy meal for children, but I see children bring chips and pop to eat with that healthy meal that we're required to provide. But yes, as far as I know, and most schools that I go and observe, students do bring some of their own food.
Let me ask you this, though, Marianne, and the caller that just called really opened up a Pandora's box of questions. I know of schools, and I've had people on the air from schools in Chicago and schools in Madison, Wisconsin, and other places where all of a sudden it turned into a Hitleristic attitude of you bring a lunch to school and the school is going to throw it away. You will eat only our food. You will only eat the amount that we give you. And they've been very dictatorial about this. And as a parent, I'd fight them tooth and nail.
Yeah, I've heard of that too, but in our district, I don't think that applies.
No, I'm not saying it applies here, but I'm saying that this might be a trend that they could make it mandatory that no students anywhere underneath the federal guidelines can bring anything to school in addition to what's being fed through the school lunch menu.
You could be right. It could happen.
Now, let's talk about the kids a little bit and the obesity. And here's where you're probably going to disagree with me a lot. I maintain that the obesity figures are fraudulent. I maintain that the obesity figures are sometimes cooked as far as the actual numbers, and I maintain that obesity in this country is not as serious as they purport it to be. Go ahead, tell me I'm wrong.
I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I think you very well could be right.
Okay, why do you think I'm right?
Because I go to the schools and there are children that are overweight, but just as you go out into the general public, you see that everywhere. There are people that are, and there are people that aren't.
But Marianne, and again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you are a spokesperson for the Cassia County Schools and their lunch program, and I've got to ask this question. I honestly believe that we're all individuals. God made each and every one of us different in our own fine-tuned way, and for the federal government to lump everybody together, thou shalt do this and only this, to me it's a 7-letter word, and it's control. Do you want to address that?
Yes. I think it is control, and like I say, we're under regulations to obtain the money and the funding that we need. We have to abide by those regulations, and yes, regulations is probably another word for control.
I think you would agree with me as a nutritionist, and God bless you for your field of endeavor, but I think you'd agree with me because I'm 66 years old, and I graduated from high school in 1965. And in my senior class, there were 234 people. Out of that senior class, and I can take the yearbook and I can show you, there were three individuals that perhaps could be considered obese. Now, we had at 9:20 in the morning, Marianne, everybody, when the bell rang, we went down to the snack bar. We could have ice cream. We could have potato chips. We could buy chocolate chip cookies and everything. But the reason we weren't obese is because we had a mandatory physical education program 4 days out of 5 during the school, and we worked when we got home. That is something that's missing today.
Exactly, and that's what I said. You know, the school lunch program cannot be blamed for that when the lifestyle of our children are so different than when you and I grew up.
Absolutely. Now, let's address this a little bit. What can be done to tip the hand of the government so they understand that if they're going to gripe, moan, and complain about obesity and extort and try to, I think, inflate the numbers, why can't we as parents and school boards turn around and say to them, okay, you want to put money into the school lunch program and limit the caloric content and limit the amount, then also put money into the schools for the implementation of mandatory physical education.
You know, that's right, and there's grants out there that provide for that. Raft River participates, and it's called a Fuel Up to Play 60, and it's a partnership with nutrition education, physical activity, and school lunch. And so there's grants and things out there for that. I think the mandatory testing and all the things that are required of our students now, that physical education is one thing that went out the door.
You must really have a hard time with the rest of the people in the food service at the Cassia County schools of trying to ascertain the menus and try to keep it palatable and enjoyable for the kids. But I'm telling you, I wouldn't want your job because you must almost tear your hair out every week trying to figure out how to do your job.
It's been difficult. You know, we have 45 wonderful, hard-working ladies in those kitchens that are very concerned about our children. They want them to have the best of what we can offer them to eat, and you know, we just have wonderful people that work in our program.
What about the future? Let's kind of look into the crystal ball a little bit, Marianne, and with this administration in 3 more years and the edicts and the control factor that they want, do you see that perhaps a new administration in 2016 would understand the weakness in their ways and try to relax some of these controls?
That would be a good thought. I just sometimes think that there are so much more important things on the table that we maybe take a back seat to that.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to bring out about food service and the preparation of meals for our students in this area? Go ahead. You've got the floor.
Okay, there's just 2 or 3 things. One complaint I hear a lot is that our children come home from school hungry. And I have 2 comments about that. One is the waste. You know, if any parent went in, I think they'd be surprised at how much waste we see in our kitchens and our lunchrooms. I've seen students, especially on good weather days, go from the line over to the garbage can, take about 2 or 3 bites of their lunch and dump the rest so that they can go outside and play. A solution to that is a recess before, or lunch before recess rather than our recess before lunch. I've talked to several principals about that over the years, and it seems to be a problem with the teachers that have duties to perform during lunch, that they are not able to implement that into our schools. And the other thing I would say to the children are always hungry comment is that we serve lunch sometimes as early as 11 o'clock in some schools. 11:30 is real common. And so by the time they get home at 3:30, 4 o'clock, you know, just like you and I, if we'd ate at 11, 11:30 and we didn't have anything until 3:30, 4 o'clock, they're hungry. And, you know, we're responsible to feed them a nutritious lunch, but there's no way that we're going to feed them enough, or even if they eat everything they have, they're going to be hungry.
Absolutely.
3:30 or 4 o'clock.
There is one other point, though, and let me inject it into your points of interest right there. And I think I know, as a matter of fact, you're going to agree with me, is that there has to be more parental responsibility in finding out about the program, understanding the program, and possibly even attending and watching what their students and their own particular children do with the food that's presented to them.
That would be wonderful. We invite all parents at any time. We do have a birthday lunch once a week where we make a special invitation, or once a month, where we make a special invitation to parents that have students that have a birthday that month to come and eat with their children. But they're welcome anytime.
All right. Marianne, you're a very nice lady, and I highly respect you for coming on the program, and thank you so much for sharing your ideas and thoughts with us.
I thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain our program. I hopefully maybe cleared up a few of the misconceptions maybe that are out there, and we just encourage parents to come in and see what we're doing. We encourage our students to eat, and may I also say that breakfast is free for everyone, or all students, and so we encourage students to come in and participate in breakfast. And
very good, very good. And may I also say Merry Christmas to you.
And thank you, and Merry Christmas to you.
God bless you. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Very, very nice lady right there, the food service supervisor for Cassia County Schools, Marianne Roskelly. And I really appreciate her courage coming on the program because she knows my feeling about the school lunch programs and everything. And she answered the questions and was very forthright. And she deserves a lot of credit. And I think even at this point, Gina, how about giving Marianne Roskelly a couple of hallelujahs? What do you say?
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Gina, you're great. Thank you. Oh, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's not forget Let's Ride. Oh, that's where the fun is sold. They sell fun. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 9 to 6. Oh, yes. Oh, they've got the snowmobiles. Oh, they've got the four-wheelers. Oh, they've got all the accessories. Oh, they've got the best in parts and service. What are you waiting for? Get over there. It's on Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, and just open the door and step inside and go, sell me some fun at Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, we got to get some holiday Christmas greetings on the air here real quick. And first and foremost, with the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce at 1177 7th Street in Heyburn, they have got one of the greatest little gift shops over there you have ever been in your life, and unique Idaho gift giving at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, with Kay and the rest of the crew wishing you a very, very Merry Christmas. And then also, let's not forget our friends at Redder's Showcase. Hello, Redder's Showcase at 2611 Oberlin and Burley. Stanton Furniture, Serta, Tempur-Pedic mattresses, Whirlpool, Maytag, Amana Appliances, they've got it all for you right there at Redder's Showcase in Burley, wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Along with our, Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens, my goodness sake, she's got gift certificates available for this next spring and summer. All you have to do is call her at 438-5663 and make arrangements to get one of those gift certificates at Vicky's Country Gardens. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And last but not least, Colonel Dale and the folks at the Book Plaza, and they're located at 222 West 11th Street in Burley with Colonel Dale. Nice people, over 200,000 books and all the gifts. Merry Christmas from all of those great merchants to you. You know, there is a mom that is listening right now over at the main studio, and I'm going to talk to her about Kennedy and school lunch and everything in just a minute, but we've got to have a weather update, and our weather update this hour is brought to you by the Magic Valley Chalet and the Upper Crust at 1367th Street in Heyburn. Oh, my goodness. They've got all the ice creams for Christmas and the holidays, like eggnog and chocolate eggnog. Ooh, that sounds good. And peppermint chocolate chip, and, they've got upstairs at the Magic Valley Chalet, Magic Valley Chalet downstairs, I should say, they've got thick as mud shakes, special flavors. I gotta try that key lime pie. Oh, that sounds good. And pistachio pudding. Ooh, and then upstairs the delicious menu of the Upper Crust. They got the best salads in the universe. 1367th Street in Heyburn. And right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hi there, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. We've got some weather action coming up over the next 72 hours. Let's get to it. So you got snow coming up. We'll start tonight. It'll continue into tomorrow, going into tomorrow night. When it's over said and done, about a half inch on the ground. But when you get a storm coming in from the Pacific Northwest, one of the things that they like to do, especially in the Magic Valley. 41 for the high tomorrow, daytime high in the low 30s. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. Tell me whether you got.
There you go, and I've already told you, if you want to delight your taste buds, stop over to the Magic Valley Chalet. All the cheese, everything, and the Upper Crust upstairs. Delicious, delicious menus. 1367th Street in Heyburn, 679-0971. Love those folks. Bringing you MichaelRogersWeather.com. Gina, you've got a 6-year-old boy,
I do.
And he's very active, very nice young man, by the way, too. And you heard the conversation with Marianne Roskelly, and I really appreciate that lady coming on the air because it's not their fault. It's not their regulations. They are mandated by the federal government because of the control factor. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I want to get your viewpoint. Our kids are not getting enough nutrition in the schools.
No, I don't think that they are, and it's not the fault of who is working in the kitchen.
Right.
It is the fault of the administration forcing these rules on the people who actually know what our kids need to eat. Now, I have a 6-year-old little boy. He's going to be 7 in March. He is growing, and I kid you not, in 11 days, my boy grew over a half an inch. He needs his food. He needs that nutrition, and so when he gets home from school, and I know that he eats at school. You know, I pay for his lunch. I know that he eats at school. But as soon as he gets out of school, he's like, Mom, I'm hungry. Can I have a cheese sandwich? Can I have this? Can I have that? Because his little body is growing.
That's
and so
right.
when you have somebody that's so little, and even if you go on up to the high school age and you've got your football players and you've got your athletes, your cheerleaders, your basketball players, what have you, they eat a lot of food. Yeah. They need that nutrition because they are burning those calories with those extracurricular activities.
Well, look at it on a time frame. Look at it on a time schedule. They get out of school. I used to get out of school at 3:15 in the afternoon, high school, okay?
Right. Okay.
And lunch was served at 11:55 until 12:25. Okay?
Okay.
Now, I would run down into the lunchroom and have my lunch, and then I had meetings to go to, for various school meetings, or if we had an opportunity at lunchtime, we had a little bit of extracurricular time. We'd go outside if weather was nice, play softball or whatever, and then, of course, that was during the lunch hour. Then, after school at 3:15, you had to traipse down into the locker room and be suited up and dressed down and ready to go by 3:30, and practices lasted 2 hours. Okay, so it's 5:30. I haven't had a bite to eat since exactly 5 minutes to 12. I've gone through the afternoon at school. I've gone through a rigorous practice session, and it takes a half an hour to get back to my house. It's 6 o'clock. I haven't done my chores. It's 6:30. I get in the house at 6:30, and then I have supper. That's a doggone long time for me to go with today's standards of only giving a high school student 750 calories.
Yeah, that is a long, long time to go without. And I don't know about you, but if I go so long without eating, my brain does not function. So as a parent, if we kind of rewind and we talk about it from a parent's perspective, okay, so I'm paying for my son to have lunch at school. Now, if he was in high school, I would not only have to pay for his lunch at school, but I would also have to make sure that I pack his backpack full of apples, fruits, oranges, chips, whatever, so he could make it through the day, so he could make it through all of his activities. So not only am I paying for him to eat at school, but I also have to make sure that I'm packing him extra because the school is not offering him.
You cannot blame kids. You can't blame parents for the black market on food because they're starving to death in the lunchrooms.
They are, and, it's like what Marianne had to say. There are some kids that go to school that is literally their only meal of the day. And then it's the school who's being blamed for childhood obesity. Yeah. Well, it's not the school's fault for what the kids don't do after school.
You know what she surprised me the most about when she agreed with me? When she agreed with me about the possible cooking the books on obesity charts. Remember that? I said I didn't believe in the obesity charts the way they are, and they're presenting these things like every 2 out of 3 students is obese, and I'm not buying into that. I'm not buying into the philosophy that we're all going to hell in a handbasket because one end of the scale is going to weight us down and drown us because they're so obese. I'm not buying into it, and she didn't either.
Well, if you went to Kennedy School and actually took a look at the structure of the kids, I think there was maybe 1, 2 in the entire school that may qualify on the obesity chart.
I agree.
It's just, I don't think you get some kids out there that are active and you take a look at the whole school in general, I think it is less than 1%.
But to your point right there, activity, how can they be active when they don't have the get up and go because they lack nutrition?
Bingo, because they don't have the energy because their mind and their body is weary because they don't have enough to eat.
Hey, listen, you never guess what just walked in.
Kelton Hatch.
The fishing game's answer to a little elf, 6'5", Kelton Hatch. Yeah, he's going to be on the air next hour, but he didn't bring me a Christmas card. He didn't bring me a gift. He didn't bring anything. Wait a minute, he's reaching into his bag of goodies, and he says, "A card for me?" I'm awestruck. To my wife. There you go, dipstick. Thank you. I'll be back in 6. Okay. Gina thinks I'm gone, but I was just listening to that wonderful Christmas music, and I love every bit of it. Good morning and Merry Christmas to you and your family. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, brought to us by our big sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and, of course, our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them, 734-6969. Before we get underway, I want to remind you, too, about the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. Always something really great to eat, and they've got a delicious luncheon special. What's on the menu for today, Wednesday? It's a new dish, and Deanne and I are going to check this out. It's called I'm Not Sure Yet. I will let you know tomorrow. I don't have it. Honestly, I looked at it, and it was on there, and it just didn't say anything. Oh, okay, she's going to check it out. But I have on mine Wednesday, I'm not sure yet, but I will let you know tomorrow. It's a delicious dish at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in for just $5.95 luncheon specials. Absolutely great people, great location. The Chadwick Sports Grill in Burley. We have a homeless person that's here, and good morning, homeless person.
Good morning, Zeb.
What are you doing?
I'm sitting here just watching you get chewed out by your wife.
I think I got the wrong microphone. I tried that once.
Can you hear me now?
No, not at all. I had the right one on in the first place.
I'll just get closer and talk louder.
There you go. Kelton Hatch with the Idaho Fishing Game. And ladies and gentlemen, stop the presses, pull over to the side of the road, put your car in park, because an amazing thing has taken place this morning.
Zeb's going to apologize for giving me grief.
Deanne, I was right. It's on there, too. See? Please read it. There. Oh, it's down below. Okay, I didn't see that. Thank you. You didn't make a mistake. I did. She's mad now. Go away. Go away.
I can't blame her.
Would you get out of this?
I'm on your team.
This is a marital spat. Hatch, get out of this.
I don't hear an apology, Zeb.
Anyway, back to the cars pulled over to the side of the road and putting them in park. I have in my hot little hands, never had happened before in all the years the Fishing Game has been on this program. Ladies and gentlemen, I received a Christmas card from the Idaho Fishing Game. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And I didn't even have to ask for it.
Yeah, no doubt. Just every year since I've been here. It takes us a while to determine whether we really like a person enough to give them a Christmas card.
I was thinking about the same thing.
I never received one from you.
You get all the food, for Pete's sakes. My lovely bride gives you cakes and pies and muffins.
That's not from you. That's from your sweet wife.
Well, that's true. Okay. All right, let's get right to it. What's going on with the Idaho Fishing Game?
You know, it's right in that, it seems weird, but this is probably our busiest time of year.
Now?
Yeah, right now it's crazy because we've got, just everything's starting to take place. We're starting scoping meetings for next year. We're wrapping up the end of hunting.
Scoping meetings?
Finding out what hunters felt like or saw this year in the field so that we can start planning next year's seasons. So we scope the public. We talk to the different people in the public. We're getting those meetings lined out. We're starting mule deer counts on winter ranges. We're compiling all the hunter data from the hunter report cards that people have sent in. And, right now it's just we're going to start trapping mule deer in the next during the holidays over Christmas and New Year's. We'll be putting radio collars on deer. And so, there's and then you've got a lot of good hunting season still going on.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you another question here about that in just a minute. But, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Chadwick Sports Grill. We now have today's menu. It is, and I don't know what this is, but it sounds really delicious. Pork satin boca. That sounds good. with a choice of potato, veggies, and super salad.
I think that's that sweet pork.
I think it sounds good. Okay, at the Chadwick. There, we've cleared that up. What about the snowpack? What's it like up south?
Pretty skinny.
Really?
Which is kind of a, I guess comparing this to last year or the year before, I really don't know. I just know that we've been up there this last week, and there's not hardly any on the front ranges where the mule deer are, because Randy Smith, our wildlife manager, he's been out the last 4 mornings at dark 30 trying to look at where the deer are hanging out and stuff. And we got a lot of hunters over in 55. Got some friends that just came back from over there, and that archery hunt, it lasts for a couple more days, but the deer are up really high. There's not a lot of snowpack, which isn't a bad thing for this year for our mule deer. It's horrible for our farmers and for the water and for the lakes and stuff like that. But the deer are a little thinner this year, and so I hope we get that snow later on.
Yeah.
Hope we don't have to have it with all the cold that we've had.
Yeah.
It's been plenty chilly,
and it's been a dry snow.
It has. It's just below in it is powder, powdered sugar.
Yeah.
But because of the cold weather, it has increased the ice on the lakes, and so fishing there's going.
Oh, which brings up an interesting conversation.
I'm ready to take you ice fishing, Zach.
I'm ready to say no.
There's some nice thin spots. No.
I noticed that the card that you gave me was signed by Doug McGargle, and McGargle had the audacity to say, "Dear Zeb, let's go fishing." And I thought, well, yeah, for 7 years, that'd be a good idea.
Well, he's just anticipation. I
see.
Anticipation.
What about Christmas hunting and fishing opportunities?
There's just I love this week, because I usually try to take a week off and spend it with the kids, and we'll get up and go waterfowl hunting one day, and then we'll go chase, pheasants, or we'll go chase rabbits, or,
Now,
get
pheasant
out
season's still open?
It is. Pheasant season for our part of the area is open until December 30th first.
Okay. All right.
And so, once you get further over by Pocatello in that country, past Burley, that's all closed over in that country. But we've got a little longer pheasant season. But then you've still got chuckers, and you got rough grouse, and you've got quail, and you've got all the birds out there to still hunt. And so, but you can spend a day out ice fishing. Everything's going on right now.
Yeah.
These beautiful days. It is a little cool out there, but look how sunny and bright it is today.
Now, how thick? And this is not meant to be a funny question, but really, how thick is the ice? Like Magic and other places.
We found out that in salmon, that it would not support a 4-door pickup.
How did you find out?
Because a guy decided to take his brand new 4-door pickup out on it.
A brand new one?
Yeah, well, it had 15,000 miles on it. 1,500. I guess they don't cover it. The insurance doesn't cover it when you drop a...
Where is it now?
At the bottom of the reservoir.
It is at the bottom of the reservoir?
About 20 foot underwater.
And the gentleman...
So there's not enough ice on the lakes to drive your pick-em-up out on it.
Why would he even think about doing that without checking it first?
It's probably cold, or wanted to sit in the truck, and, he had seen you guys from back in the Minnesota and that country, Wisconsin, driving out on the lakes, and I don't know. It's not.
You got to have at least 4 or 5 inches of thickness to do something like that, don't you?
For me to walk on it, I want 4 to 5 inches. For me to drive a pickup on, it better be almost solid where there's no fish underneath it.
Wouldn't you like to have had a video camera and get a picture of that guy's face?
I just feel sorry for him, because I'd hate to have to pay for a pickup for the next 5 years I couldn't drive.
It'd probably be worthless, won't it?
I'm sure they could probably pull it out and drain it and put a new motor or clean the motor
how
out.
Far offshore is it?
I don't know. I guess it's under about 15 foot of water, though.
Really?
Yeah, so it's far enough off.
Yeah, well, why couldn't they get a diver to go hook a winch line on it and get her out of there?
They may can. I don't know. I just heard that story on the way out this morning. But, they said parts of Salmon Falls Creek are ready to be fished. The southern part is a little thicker. Magic has been frozen. It's got a couple 3 inches on it. And so you can get out there and do a little bit of ice fishing. I'd imagine give it another week or so and things could really pick up.
Oh, my goodness. Well, pick up. That's a cute way of saying his pickup's underneath 15 feet of water.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, we got to pay some bills here real fast, and I'd like to remind everybody about some of our great advertisers that wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas, including Four Paws Bed and Bath for all your dogs and kitty cats at 370 West, 200 South of Rupert, 438-4444. If you're leaving town long for the Christmas holidays, they can take care of them. They got excellent boarding facilities, the best in all the toys and all the food, everything right there at Four Paws Bed and Bath. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And, of course, Magic Valley Irrigation at 44 East, 500 South of Burley. And they, with all their irrigation needs for you, wish you a very Merry Christmas. Jeff and the staff, really nice people. And the folks at Burley Glass, Gentle Ben at 1029 Overland in Burley with all your window needs. And believe me, I trust them. They've got the best in windows. And Burley Glass says Merry Christmas to all of you. Have a great day, and thank you to all of those great advertisers. Thank you. Waterfowl seasons, we just talked about that a little bit, but I will say that I don't think I've ever seen as many geese and ducks as I have this year.
You know, this has just been an incredible year, and right now the waterfowl hunting is just tremendous. With the cold weather, it's iced up a lot of these smaller ponds around the area, and so it's really congregated the ducks down on the Snake River, and we're seeing great success with hunters down there. Got a lot of the northern ducks. It's been cold up north, and so we've really got a flush of ducks in here right now. Get out and enjoy yourself. One thing a lot of people have seen, an article that they was talking about, they found 109 breasted. I mean, the ducks had been taken care of, and the two geese, but they had taken the ducks and just tossed them along the edge of on a turnout. And the whole gist of the deal is we're just trying to get sportsmen to be more cognizant of their actions. Thank you, Zeb. I appreciate it. You can say Merry Christmas. But cognizant of their actions, because we had a lot of complaints from that. We had landowners that had called because they had all these carcasses out there. We had a lot of people from the general public that had just pulled over and were disgusted. And we get that with elk and deer, and I know that it's difficult after hunting season. I mean, I have the same deal. You know, you harvest a couple of deer with your family.
What are you playing with?
The horse.
Now you're playing. You were playing with a baseball a minute ago.
I was, and the horse was riding the baseball.
I see.
But you take the bones and the hide up to the hills. Try not to just throw them along the edge of the road. Get them out in the sagebrush a little bit. I know that the predators will use these, but we don't need to. And if you or take them to the garbage dump. I do know that in some it can be a littering charge, and so I probably shouldn't say take it to the BLM.
But why, if they just stop and think, well, now listen, hunters are getting a bad rap anyway. Why should we add to the problem?
Yeah. And I know some of it is just we're in a hurry. A bunch of us were out hunting. We've got this. Our dumpster's full. But just take a little more time to think about it. It's cold enough. Put them in plastic bags and put one bag of them a week in your dumpster.
Sure. There you go. Now, here's something that's kind of funny to me. Pardon my chuckle. But it says, fish and game Christmas presents. Excuse me.
I was going to suggest that your wife got you a combination hunting and fishing license for a stocking stuffer for you this year.
I would love to have that. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I never had as much fun as I've had last year. This year, I thought I was going to be in the hospital during hunting season, and it didn't work out that I could get the license. I thought I was going to be in the hospital. It didn't work out that way. But next year, I'm certainly hoping I can get back up and do some more deer hunting in the fall.
And you had a lot of fun fishing last year, too. And
I had a great time.
You know, that's what I'm talking about, the Christmas present. It's get in there, partly is because waterfowl season goes clear through the new year.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, so if you want to hunt ducks or geese on January 1st, you better get your hunting license picked up now. Your waterfowl stamp is good for the entire waterfowl season, so you don't need to pick up another one of those. Just hang on to your other license that waterfowl stamp's attached to. But you do need to get that hunting and fishing license. But it's a great stocking stuffer. It's that gift that
keeps on giving.
It does. 365 days it's good for. And so pick that up, or if you don't know what your significant other or your friend wants, you can buy a gift certificate, which will allow them to apply for controlled hunts, buy their tags, buy their hunting and fishing license if they don't have that, and so lots of different things. But
how was the overall, this isn't on the list here this morning, but how was the overall hunt as far as this year, 54 and 55?
Things looked really tremendous this last year. I know we've had a lot of debate on what to do with that hunt. We're getting more and more and more people down there bow hunting every year.
You're talking about right here?
54 and 55.
Yeah.
55's got that late season archery, and we're starting to get complaints at the number of people in those hunts for those general archery hunts. But I can tell you, the only reason there's a lot of people there is because they're having great success and they're seeing lots of game. And this year looks like it was a banner year for harvest. We'll know for sure here probably in another month and a half when we get all those numbers tallied up from our hunter report cards. But
you had told me,
really good.
You told me a couple of years ago, maybe it wasn't that long, that there was a consideration, possibly, that the Fish and Game might open up a very, very specialized moose hunt up in the South Hills.
And that's going to be under debate. I think it's going to be this year. And when we have our big game scoping meetings,
I see.
Those things are going to be on the table, whether we should add another permit for Unit 54 down here because of the number of moose that people are seeing. And, anything else, we really want to pick the sportsman's brains on this, what they're seeing out there. We see things on paper, meaning we know how many deer are harvested, we see the success, we see the size of antlers and bucks, and the general areas where wildlife is being harvested. However, there's only 20 of us in the office where there's several thousand hunters. So if we can glean information from those hunters at these public meetings, it makes us more informed. We have a pretty good idea, and a lot of us spend a lot of time, but it's still good to talk to a lot of other people.
I agree.
When we get those going, get a hold of us. I was going to tell you, you can keep track. People are always asking me, how can we find out when these meetings are happening or what's going on? Well, we've moved into this new century here.
Oh, here we go. Something that I'll never be able to do.
Well,
go ahead.
You can tweet.
I never have.
Well, I know, but okay.
Okay.
We've got a brand new...
You can tweet too, Canary.
Yeah, no doubt. We've got a brand new Facebook page, and you just have to go to like us on Magic Valley Fish and Game.
Isn't that kind of an oxymoron, though?
I know.
Like us and with your picture
It's
on
not
it?
like me.
Oh.
It's like us.
I see.
And so you can like us at Magic Valley Fish and Game. We're trying to put daily updates on different things that are happening or different cases we're working on. Or it's, there's going to be some information for folks on that. So it's Magic Valley Fish and Game Facebook. And then we're getting into the Twitter business.
Okay.
And if you want to follow Doug... Mm-hmm. And what's going on in Magic Valley?
Why would anyone want to?
Because he's got a vast amount of knowledge.
Doug McGargle?
Doug McGargle.
Same one I know?
The same one you know, on fisheries.
I see.
And, it's at MV Fishery.
Okay.
And then to follow the general department is at IDFG Magic Valley, and that'll keep you up on the updates on, like our chili feed that's coming up we'll talk about here in a little bit, or about, what our harvest statistics were, or just about whatever's going on in the valley. We're going to try to keep the public. We're just hoping this will be a way to reach out to people. The problem is, and this is terrible, before I left the office this morning, I said, now, am I supposed to say friend us or like us? I don't have a
So you're really not any more advanced than I am.
Oh, probably less.
No.
I still got a rotary phone. But it's like, this is just that next step that my kids really enjoy that I just, try to avoid. But
oh man,
we're using it, and we just have to get a way to be able to communicate better with people.
I just went down and bought an iPad, and I can't. I'm trying.
You'll get it figured out over the holidays.
I hope so. Hey, listen, I got to pay some bills here real quick. Every Thursday, we have a very special show on our Zeb at the Ranch, and it's called School Days in Cassia County, and it's brought to you by two wonderful businesses, A Child's World at 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley, and don't forget, A Child's World is also participating in the Minnecasia Area Merchants Association Passport Promotion, and they will stamp your passport. They've got everything with the Cherokee and Dickie scrubs, all the games, all the ladies' dresses, everything. Please get in there for your Christmas shopping at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And don't forget, too, the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. 14 years, the Ambulatory Surgery Center of Burley has saved area families thousands of dollars, and they've received outstanding medical care. Don't forget, too, colon cancer can be deadly. Get a colonoscopy by a board-certified doctor at the Ambulatory Surgery Center in Burley. Both of those businesses, A Child's World and the Ambulatory Surgery Center, bringing you on Thursdays, School Days in Cassia County. What's this thank a landowner? What should I do? Drive in his yard and just say thank you and then drive away? What are you talking about
would
here?
Send him a Christmas card, or
Really?
send him a smoked, salami or turkey or a duck or something like that.
Really?
You bet. Landowners, we get so inundated from both sides on this. Oh, landowners have locked up all their ground. We can't hunt anywhere. Well, and then landowners saying, well, hunters just have no sense of responsibility or care for other people's property. And so it's it's a two-sided argument that's always going on. Let's try to preserve the stuff that we have, and thank those landowners that are letting people get in there and hunt.
A little act of kindness goes a long way.
Oh, it does. You bet.
Just look at my lovely wife.
I always try to thank her because she's such a nice person, and she brings me cookies.
Yeah, and look at the size of me.
Look at the size of me. And so I'm saying that because something smells really good in there right now.
I noticed that.
But you just need to thank those landowners for what they put up with and what they do. A lot of, in parts of the state, 65% of our winter range for mule deer in southeastern Idaho is on private property.
Really? 67%?
65%.
65%.
Right around there. And so that's pretty critical habitat.
Really.
And so I think it's probably worth our time to thank those guys. And when roosters and, oh, thank you very much. Well, you weren't nice to her earlier. But you need to thank those.
Talking, Hatch.
I will. But most of your pheasants are going to be harvested on private property, and so just get out there and thank those landowners for what they do for wildlife.
Wintering wildlife, deer counts, and trapping. You said that's part of the busy time right now?
That is part of the busy time, and things are going on right now. I wanted to talk a little bit more about
I tell you what, we've got about a minute left in this segment, and I got to send it back over to the main studios, but you might take a little time right here. You were mentioning about stocking stuffers and everything. Now, the number of my great memory of the office over in Jerome is 324-4359.
That's just incredible. That's good.
And they can call, or they can go on Facebook or Twitter or whatever and check out the gifts that possibly could be given.
They could. They probably can't check them out on Twitter or Facebook, but they can call the office. They can write that. They can buy a gift certificate for any amount.
Okay.
They have to redeem those gift certificates at the fishing game. But I was also going to say, don't forget your local merchants either, because most of your local merchants that sell hunting and fishing licenses also sell gift cards.
Well, there you go.
So you can go to any of those stores and pick up those gift cards, and this is for your hunting for next year, or whatever. And so we just want to get folks out there and just. It's nice if they can remember to get those licenses before the new year too.
Amen.
But it's like I said earlier too, though. That's one of my favorite things to do around the holidays is to go get out and do some hunting and fishing with my kids because everybody's off.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a little break right here, but I want to urge you, please. He will feel neglected. He'll feel like he works for Uncle Scrooge before Christmas. If you don't give him a call and wish him a Merry Christmas, Kelton Hatch with the Idaho Fish and Game. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244. or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zed Bell.
Oh, welcome back, and the last half hour, and Kelton Hatch, Idaho Fishing Game, is on the program. Give Kelton a call. Wish him Merry Christmas. He'll never feel happier. He'll feel like he's wanted. He'll feel like he's a part of somebody's Christmas stocking. Don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental. My goodness, these are great people at 2 locations in Twin Falls at 465 Addison Avenue West, and their new location in Burley at 159 West Highway 30. Oh, they got a ripping good piece of equipment to talk about this week. A 2012 S650 with a cab, heat, air conditioning, fully loaded. I'm telling you, this is ripping good. Get the job done, and it comes with an 80-inch Bobcat heavy-duty bucket. You better give them a call. It's selling for $39,950. Eli at Twin Falls, the old Green Bay Packer fan like me, 732-7368, or Nick in Burley, 678-7368. The best equipment, the nicest people at Berry Equipment and Rental, Twin Falls and Burley. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, Merry Christmas, Kelton.
Well, thank you.
And Merry Christmas, Deb, also.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Wondering about your 3-year license thing, and if you could give a little bit of information on that.
All right. Do you mind if we answer it over the air instead of the telephone?
No. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Kelton.
The 3-year license plan, I'm not as up to speed as I should be on this. From my understanding on it, it does give about a $3 or $5 discount on the license for if you buy it in the 3-year package. The big thing it does is it ensures we're looking at a fee increase this year on hunting and fishing licenses.
Oh, really?
Because it's just the cost of doing business, and so we'd done one 5 years or 6 years ago for non-residents, and we haven't had one in several years for residents. And I'm as bad as everybody else. I hate to see it happen, but when I look at the price of everything, it's just the things that we're limiting because of that. But I guess that's probably one of the bigger selling points for the 3-year license. You can purchase that, and you're locked in for the next 3 years.
There you go.
At that price.
Kind of like the post office with the forever stamps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Same thing. Yeah. Anyway, hope that answers that gentleman's question. Now let's talk a little bit about wintering wildlife, deer counts, and trapping. Trapping
the deer.
Yeah,
we talked about that a little bit, but
that's not the easiest thing in the world to do, is it?
You know, it's not that bad. I mean, it's like, anybody that's worked livestock and stuff like that is it's a little western.
But cows can't jump like deer can, for Pete's sake.
Well, one interesting thing, a couple of years ago, I got gored by a buck.
You did?
I didn't think he'd got me. He ran into the net and stopped, and he spun around and was sitting here looking eye to eye about from me to you.
Yeah.
And then he lowered his head and came at me, so I grabbed him by his antlers. He was a 4-point buck.
That wasn't a good move.
Well, it was either that or he run over the top of him.
Yeah, but wouldn't you have rather fallen back in the snow than rather used him like a Harley-Davidson handlebar and have him pushed you into a tree?
Have you ever seen a Brahma bull drop his head and try to eat you on the ground?
Many times.
Okay. I know you had. Well, this buck was doing the same thing. His antlers were I could have fallen on the ground. He'd have hooked me about mid-girth, and so I got a hold of him.
Really?
And he came, and then I just drove its head into the ground, and a tine went through my calf, into my calf.
Really?
Yeah, and so then we finally got him down. We got the antlers sawed off, and we put a radio collar on him.
I guess you showed him.
Well, he was just doing what came natural, and so that's kind of sometimes what can, that's probably about as Western as it gets. Somebody gets kicked in the teeth or the forehead or...
Just minor stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, after all,
it's
how the West was won.
It could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
But no, the way we do that is we take these long nets, they're about 100 foot long, and we stand them up on sticks.
Yeah.
And so they're standing about 6 foot. So you got 6 foot of net, and then we'll put about 8 of these nets in a ravine in the canyon end to end, or do some cross patterns and stuff, and then the helicopter will locate deer that's near there
and run them towards the net,
and then they run into the net, and typically they'll hit the net and get tangled up.
It's kind of the same way they do with the Mustangs.
Yeah, except I think mostly the Mustangs, they run into corrals. The roundups I've been on there, they have actual hard corrals.
Well, they run them into a lot of areas that are, I know for a fact, because Kent Benson, one of my team roping partners, used to, when they get them into those shallow areas, then they'd go rope them and tie them down and then wait for them to be picked up.
See, that's a little more Western than roping a 200-pound deer.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're a big guy, but that deer, you know, he had you. He had you.
But we got him back.
I see.
Yeah, I got a radio collar. But you see, the people wonder, well, why do you guys do that? Well, it's so that we can monitor movement of deer.
What kind of language did you use when he was ready to run over you?
I said, whoa!
I'll bet you did. You're lying to me and the rest of the public.
I'm not.
You were potty mouth the whole time.
My kids were up there, so I can't. No. I was thinking maybe something, but no.
Really, when he lowered his head and come at you, I bet that was kind of a fearful thing, though.
Well, I worked with cattle all my life. It was just, you know, you just either get out of the way or
but
get
you're
run
bigger
over.
than most cattle.
Except for when they got the pointy horns.
There you go. Okay.
But no, I was going to tell you, from some of the trapping that we've had, I mean, we get migrations. Probably the biggest ones is like we have deer in the Arco area.
Really?
From radio collars that migrate clear over to like Featherville.
Well, they got relatives over there.
To fawn.
Yeah.
And then they walk back to there to winter, but then we have elk that are coming from like Redfish Lake and migrating to just outside of Mountain Home.
Really?
And so you've got these massive migrations, and people are always going, well, why do you know, these roads, roads and all these other structures that we build out there do have a major impact on our wildlife. And that's why we do the radio, the collaring. We also do the collaring to determine survival of deer, you know, because we have several hundred deer across the state that are radio collared, fawns, bucks, and does, and then we can determine winter loss.
By the way, how is the situation up in Mountain Home after that fire? Is it getting any better?
It's going to be really ugly this winter if we get a lot of snow.
Really?
Yeah, for the mule deer especially, because, I mean, that Blair fire that happened a few years ago is actually, I mean, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
The elk can get out there and scratch.
So are you urging drivers on the interstate to really go with caution?
We are. You know, we haven't had enough snow to push them on top of that yet. They're still scattered quite a ways. We was out in the Bennett's last week, and the Bennett Hills is in that area, and there wasn't a lot of deer in some of that area, but they hadn't moved clear down to the interstate as yet. And if we get a lot of snow, we could have a lot of issues down there. We've got some emergency feeding plans and things like that. Proposed and or in the wings, just to try to keep wildlife off of the interstate so that we don't have people killed.
I tell you what, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to see if you won't take me along sometime when you do that trapping. I'd love to see that.
You bet.
I would love to see that. I really would.
No problem.
Yeah. Changes in the region, and then you got Todd, Humplin, Palmer, and
Regan.
Who's a Plammer or a Plummer? You got P-L-A-L.
I goofed on the spelling. Sorry, Palmer.
Your typing is almost as bad as mine.
It was fast.
I
was in a hurry, but no. I was just going to say, you're going to be seeing a lot of new faces around the region. You know, Mike Todd is retired.
Yeah.
Bruce Palmer just retired. Gary Homplin just retired.
Holy smokes.
Regan Berkeley and Ed Pappenberg, they just took new jobs and moved out of the region. And we've got several new people that are coming on board, and several more people in the wings. We're hitting that like a lot of the state agencies. Those baby boomers are.
Yeah. Keep going.
You know, like yourself.
Yeah, like me.
And they're starting to retire, and so you're going to see a lot of new faces around the region.
Yeah, but Mike looks like he's 65 in retirement age. I don't.
Okay, I'll since you're here, I'll buy that.
Thank you very much.
And you're in charge of the microphone.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so we're seeing a lot of changes around the Magic Valley. So.
Now, do you have people already filling those positions?
A lot of the jobs we do. We've had application periods going on for multiple.
Does it take a long time for somebody? Are they coming in from other areas?
You know, a lot of them will be transfers. Some of them will be new hires out of college. Some of them.
Oh boy.
I mean, we got
to train the new ones, huh?
Well, we get people from all over the country that want to come here. I mean,
really,
Colorado, Arizona. You know. From your neck of the woods. I mean, a lot of people from back east and stuff. Wisconsin and stuff. I mean, you met Doug and those guys.
Doug is, who was the guy that was here last month?
Doug Myers.
Doug Myers is from Wisconsin.
Yeah. And so a lot of people, and people go, well, why? They don't, you know, they're coming out west to Well, this is where the wildlife's still wild, There's not, it's not a concrete jungle, and they want to come out and they want to manage wildlife and work with wildlife, and they love the outdoors and hunting and fishing and
Does
stuff.
it take people like from, let's say Wisconsin, or anywhere back there, even New York? I think you had somebody.
We got 3 guys
from New York State, didn't you?
Well, we do. It's kind of funny. We got 3 guys from New York State that have lived in Idaho longer than they've lived in their own state because they move out here when they're 18 and start going to school at the University of Idaho or places like that.
But does it take somebody from outside of this region a long time to acclimate themselves as to not only what to do or how to do it?
Oh, with a lot of them coming out of just going into college, and getting a job at the Fish and Game isn't like you graduate and you get a job. It's like while you're going through college, you're working seasonal jobs for Fish and Game.
Oh, so you're kind of on a layman's basis or something?
And then after you get your bachelor's degree, then you go work for a couple of years for Fish and Game as a technician.
I see.
And then you go back and
do you get paid for doing that?
Yeah, minimal.
And
then you go back and you get your master's degree, and then a lot of those guys still work for a part-time basis or as a technician.
So you got your master's degree?
I don't. I came about it a different direction.
You bought into the program.
Well, I was an outfitter for 15 years, guide and outfitter. I had my degree, had a lot of background, and then I do the public relations portion of for the department.
Good Lord Almighty!
I know. Sometimes you wonder.
Public relations.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And so. But I'm one of the few in the office that doesn't have one.
Really? Are you going to try to get it in the future?
I'm kind of like you. I'm kind of like you. I'm the bottom end of the baby boomers.
It's hard, really. When I went to study for my real estate license, and I did that about 10 years ago. Once you've been away from education, seriously, once you've been away from education, it's hard to sit down and study.
Oh, it's horrible. And trying to remember stuff. I've taken a few online classes recently, and it's just like, oh, my heavens.
Yeah. And yet we stand over our kids and our grandkids and say, read that and learn it.
Read that, learn it, know what you do. But their brains are young and supple. They're not old and hard like ours.
We got to have a weather update. MichaelRogersWeather.com. We'll be back with more. Here's Michael.
Hi there, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. You got some weather action coming up over the next 72 hours. Let's get to it. So you got snow coming up. It'll start tonight. It'll continue into tomorrow, going into tomorrow night. When it's over, said and done, about a half inch on the ground. Why? When you get a storm coming up in the Pacific Northwest, one of the things that they like to do, especially in the Magic Valley. 41 for the high tomorrow, the daytime high be in the low 30s. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. Tell me whether you got it.
There you go, MichaelRogersWeather.com, and thank you, the best weatherman in the world. By the way, let's have a real quick note here about our friends at the UPS store in Burley. Oh, my goodness. They can print all the seasonal products like customized greeting cards, invitations to your party, and calendars and newsletters. They've got little Christmas elves over there that know how to do the job and get it done right. Contact them today. Call 678-0127. Really nice people, and bring all your holiday shipping right to them. The UPS store in Burley, 322 East Main Street. Stop in and say Merry Christmas to them today. One thing I'm going to not let you out of here for the next couple of minutes, we're going to talk about wolves. What is the situation with the wolves right now, going into the end of 2013 into 14?
There's a lot of stuff that just barely hit the national media on wolves in the last couple of days. And so, wolf numbers, as we predicted, is they're hovering, an estimated population, and we know we have this many, is over 880, almost 900 wolves.
In the state of Idaho?
Yeah, in the state. It's the highest population in the country, in the lower 48. And so, we know that that's a low estimate, but we can actually document each one of those pretty much. And so that's why we use that estimated number. But what's came out in the last, the Statesman just published an article this last week on Idaho Fish and Game has hired a hunter. and we've actually hired a hunter-trapper out of the salmon area to go up into the Middle Fork and the backcountry to try to have an impact on those overall wolf populations.
You just made a statement, and I want to commend you on it, because you said that you believe the number of 800 or 900 is possibly a low figure, and it's possibly much higher than that.
Oh, we know it is.
Okay, but when you look at this on a state-by-state basis across the United States, and then you get these people that are so adamant that the wolves still need to be protected by the federal government and everything. There was a lady that wrote a letter to the editor this morning that said in a definitive fashion that, let's see, I got to find it here, the United States, but exploitive bounty programs, poisoning, trapping, and aerial shooting nearly eliminated the gray wolf. And she says, she goes on to say there are currently around 6,000 gray wolves in the entirety of the continental United States. I'm just going to say that's a bunch of baloney and a figure that is atrociously low by a person that is completely unknowledgeable and basically stupid.
You know, that could possibly be the figure the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is using. And I know that it doesn't sound right, but the numbers that we end up using for a lot of our documentation have to be numbers that we can verify to the nth degree.
Yeah.
That we know for a fact that animal is there. And so a lot of times that's why these estimations, that's a minimum.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody will say...
In the states of Wisconsin and Minnesota alone, I'm going to say that there's well over that figure.
Well, and you said I wouldn't be...
When I've talked to members of the Fish and Game in both Minnesota and Wisconsin, and also the people that are residents, especially in the northern portions of that state, the numbers are atrociously high.
Yeah. And so, well, you know, the thing is canines are one of those critters. Coyotes, for an example, there's a lot of air gunning that takes place through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service through Wildlife Services in order to eliminate coyotes on lambing areas, and because of that, we actually increase survival of coyotes because of the heavy harvest of coyotes.
I agree with that.
And the reason that the way that happens is that they go in and they remove all the coyotes from a certain area, but you've got, you know, in a full carrying capacity area, a coyote will only keep 0 to 1 pup will survive out of a litter. When you go out and you remove 200 or 300 coyotes from an area, when the female has a litter of pups, there's more food available. The female can lactate, catch enough food to lactate more, and she's going to have 3, 4 to 5 pup survival. So the population bounces back really quick. That's the same thing we battle with coyotes. You remove coyotes from an area, well, they increase pup survival because... But the thing is we're having areas, and the reason we hired this trapper and hunter to work in some of this backcountry is right now we've got some habitat problems up in there. We're not getting calf survival, and too high of a predator population will depress the ability for game animals to recover.
Do you think, and this is not a question I'm trying to put you on the spot or anything, but you are no, seriously, you're a representative of the Fish and Game, and I'm just going to ask this question. We possibly will never see an intertwining of the right or the left on the wolf issue. I mean, there's always going to be arbitration as to what is good, what is bad. But has it, in your opinion, got better and not as wanting to be a fight between the two over the last year and a half, 2 years?
Oh, it's got a ton better.
Has it really?
You know, but you still have the extremists on both ends.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and we're the ref in the middle.
I was going to say, you're caught right smack dab in the middle.
Nobody likes us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You go to a local high school basketball game. How many people like the ref? You know, and so, and that's basically where some people like it, some people don't, some people hate it. You know, and so we've got both sides going.
Yeah.
And so, but we are being aggressive on wolf management. We understand what's going on with them, and
see what happens.
You know, it's gonna be an interesting deal.
All right, we got a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, Kelton. Merry Christmas.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, do you guys still put out them, them mushroom cyanide bombs you used to stick out in the desert, and the coyote would pull off that mushroom-looking thing and blow their cyanide in their face?
We don't. Wildlife Services had used it for a while, and I'm not even sure whether Wildlife Services are still using those.
Yeah, because they was real dangerous. We had, when we were surveying out there on the desert for the Department of Interior, there were some out there, and some guy went over there, wasn't even our party, in the survey crew, and he went over in there messing around, and he kicked one of them and went through his boot.
Oh,
before we could get him to hospital, he was dead under the doornail.
Wow, that's nice.
Wow. To me, that would be a very dangerous and very impractical way of trying to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, it was terrible.
Yeah.
We really had to watch it.
All right, Al, thank you for your call. Merry Christmas. Thank you very much.
To you.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that. You know, I know that they'd used them, and the only way I'd ever heard them using them basically before is down in dens.
Really?
In den situations. But the other thing I was going to bring up there's been a lot of talk about there's a wolf-coyote derby.
What is that?
Salmon. Well, you've heard of coyote derbies.
Yeah, my son is in them quite a bit.
And so they're actually including wolves, and there's been a lot of stuff that's came out on that recently, a lot of national publicity that received out of the salmon area. And so, you know, the department basically kind of views them as big buck contests, and we just want, you know, we have big buck contests and things like that. People just need to adhere to the rules.
Absolutely.
Adhere to the rules.
You know, when there's rules made, and going back to like what we thought about the story about the ducks and the geese that were left at that area, originally when I heard the story, I thought that they had been shot on a poach situation and wasted, but that was not the case.
That wasn't the case. And so, you know, and a lot of these things, when you start looking deep into them, I mean, there's just a lot of emotion out there about wildlife. You know, people love wildlife, or they hate it. You know, because there's some people that just don't enjoy it around and stuff. But it brings up emotions, just like, you know, your dog or your roping horse or anything else like that. You know, or anything like that. So, but just, you know, that's basically the roundup on those.
Okay, well, listen, I got to pay some bills here real quick, and then we'll wrap things up, and then I'll open up the Christmas presents you brought us. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I'm kidding, of course. And, of course, all 7 locations serving you. They've got some excellent people at every location, and service is the key. The best in winter traction tires, all the different tread designs, all the studded tires, everything for your safe wintertime driving. And if you want to go in there and have your battery check to make sure that it's going to stand up this winter, fine. They'll check it for you for free. And then if you need a battery, they've got all the batteries you need. They've got all the tire chains, the snow wheels, the very best in the best of brake value promises. They know brakes. I'll tell you what, all 7 locations serving you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family over in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap the program up? This will be the last program for 2013.
It will.
Yeah.
It will be. It's been a great year.
It has been a good year.
It has been a great year, you know. I just say get your kids out.
Yep.
And enjoy the outdoors. I mean, or
Nothing
your
better.
grandkids.
Nothing better.
You know, I mean, everybody's so plugged in nowadays. It blows me away that you see little kids walking around with iPhones and.
We've got a quick call.
Okay.
Quick call, and I've only got a minute left. Caller, go ahead, please.
Yeah, them were what Al was talking about was a cyanide gun, and they were put out by the government trappers, and the coyote would grab that, it was chewed up into his mouth, and he was gone. I've seen a lot of them.
Oh, okay. Well, Fred, God bless you. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, and thanks for your call. I got to wrap things up, and Merry Christmas to you. Thank you. Are you aware of what he's talking about?
I'm not.
Okay.
A lot of that stuff had taken
place before you started, right? Okay.
And that was Wildlife Services, which is a totally different organization, and so.
Well, I just want to say thank you for being on the program.
Well,
and we've enjoyed having you here for the last year, and hopefully we'll do the same thing in 2014.
You bet. Well, I think this is like the 3rd year I've been here.
I think so, too. Time flies when you're having fun.
You bet. You getting harassed.
All right. You get free food here. And you get a lot
Thanks
of it.
to your wife.
That's right. Zeb at the Ranch, we're going to wrap things up for today. Don't forget, tomorrow night, the Great Big Zeb singing Christmas Chorale. We're going to meet at Ramsey's at 5:30 tomorrow night. Don't miss it. Thanks to Let's Ride, Ramsey Heating and Electric, Travel Loop Supply, and Smith's Food King. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, the way things were, the way things ought to be. God bless you. Have a great day.